All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you guys so much for joining me once again today. And thank you for once again being patient while the intro finishes up there. It's so weird because I streamed later than I usually do yesterday for the state of play. And it was a pretty long stream. It was over 4 hours. And there was just so much that happened in that stream. Like I don't know. It feels like almost like no time went by between the time when I ended my stream yesterday till now. And, of course, time did go by, in fact, and had more time to kind of process the state of play, process everything. I went back and I rewatched some of the trailers, not all of them, and just, just kind of contemplating, this state of play that happened yesterday. And the more I think about it, like the happier I am. I mean, I don't know that in the sense of like hype. I mean, yesterday obviously I lost my mind when the Kojima partnership was announced, but I don't know. I want to make sure we talk a little bit today about PlayStation going forward and like how I think this state of play signals a shift potential shift. I'm not saying for sure in how PlayStation's going to handle themselves in terms of, announcements and shows and just kind of communicating with the fans. I want to talk about that, but we do have other really interesting topics to talk about. In fact, one of the topics that I certainly was not expecting to be discussing with you today, but is really, I think, something that if it's true and it makes a lot of sense, like I think there is truth to this rumor. If this is really what Sony's doing, I think it's going to make a lot of people very, very, very happy. And we're talking about a new dedicated native, I assume, I mean, that seems to be what the rumor is indicating, native handheld. Basically Sony getting serious about actually re-entering the handheld market, which, it makes sense. I've talked about this before. I've said it would be crazy for Sony at this point in time to just say, nah, why bother? It just wouldn't make any sense. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to go over that rumor and we're going to talk about how likely this rumor is to actually be true. But we do have some other topics that we're going to be discussing as well. And I want to get into those first. So before I do that, I just want to once again give a shout out, just generally speaking, to this community, to my audience. Yesterday was an amazing day. And yeah, it was a great stream. And so I just want to make sure I thank everybody for showing up. I feel the need to thank you guys once again at the beginning of the stream because I know that a lot of people had to leave by the time we got to the end of yesterday's stream. So thank you guys for all your support during yesterday's stream. I also want to just thank everybody who watches after the fact. I know there's a lot of people who can't catch the streams live. So make sure you utilize the timestamps from Devil Shooter. He does a great job with them. But before I dive into these topics and go over each one with you here and go over the new information, I want to just let you know 3 ways you can support me. If you're not aware, become a channel member, gain access to the members lounge. We will be doing a members lounge today. I do owe you guys that. I wanted to do one yesterday, but things just weren't really they just didn't work out in that way yesterday. So we are going to do a members lounge today. If you are a channel member, please join me there. It should be an interesting one. And yeah, if you're already a channel member, consider gifting some channel memberships. We hit almost 300 membership gifts yesterday, which is mind blowing. So if that's something you guys want to continue to do, please do so. It helps support me directly. And last but not least, consider donating a super chat. It's a great way for you to get more deeply involved in the conversation, ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between. It all helps tremendously. So once again, big shout out to you guys for allowing me to do this. It's an honor. Now, look, before I get into these topics, there's actually something else I want to talk about with you guys, and that is the fact that I finally I say finally because I never platinumed it the first time around. I finally platinumed The Last of Us Part 2, and I was thinking about whether or not I wanted to do like a dedicated show to giving like a final review of The Last of Us Part 2, but to be honest, I don't think I'm going to. At least right now, I'm not feeling like I'm going to because I feel like I've talked about this game so much, and I know that some people are getting so tired of it, and they're getting tired of hearing me talk about it. So I don't know that doing a final, last ever review of The Last of Us Part 2 is necessary with this remaster, but I do just want to take a moment to celebrate my platinum trophy here because I'm on the road to 50 platinums. All right. Right now, I have, with The Last of Us Part 2 platinum, I'm sitting at 37 platinum trophies. I want to get to 50. I've gained 3 platinums in pretty much since the year started. And to be clear, when I say like I'm trying to get 50 platinums, I don't mean like speed running it. I mean games that are meaningful to me, like games that I actually want to go out of my way to platinum, like not just playing anything just for the sake, just because it's an easy platinum or something like that. So I'm on my way to 50. My goal is to get 50 platinums before the end of the year. I think I'll be able to. I mean, considering how many damn games are coming out this year, and yeah, I think I'll be able to. At least I hope so. But I just want to say, I promise I'll be very, very brief with this. My final thoughts in The Last of Us Part 2. I'm gonna hold on, Kevin G. I can't. Why was that deleted? What did that message say that it got deleted? That was a $2 super chat. I just need to know because I didn't get a chance to read it, which is really stupid. Like, why doesn't it allow me to see it? He said, "Can Stellar Cheeks be played one?" um. All right, listen here, Pragmatic Cat. I understand. No, no, Pragmatic Cat, bro. You gotta. First off, that's a funny super chat. Pragmatic Cat, listen, you gotta be ease up on the trigger finger, man. You do. Like this is getting out of hand now, Pragmatic Cat. You gotta ease up. He ain't wrong, bro. Not saying that that's how I'm gonna play the game. I'm just gonna enjoy the game for what it is. But look, man. The reality is, the developers of Stellar Blade know who they're trying to appeal to. So Kevin G, I appreciate the super chat. I'm sorry about that. Pragmatic Cat, bro, you gotta be careful, man. You know that man just paid $2 for, and that's fine. The reason why I'm not going to be too hard on Pragmatic Cat is because there are people who troll super chat sometimes, and they'll type certain things up, hoping I'll read it, and so I understand it from that perspective. But it's all good, Pragmatic Cat. I actually think that's a pretty damn funny super chat, and it's so funny to me seeing some of, like, there were shots in that trailer that I guess I didn't really see. Like, there were so many quick shots in that trailer. I'm seeing people put out like still images or screenshots of some parts of that trailer. I'm like, oh my God, bro. Like they're really leaning into that aspect of the game. And I think it's a smart idea from the developer standpoint because, I mean, it's like people are getting tired of like it's not like censorship necessarily, but just this idea that like we can't have like really attractive or sexually appealing female characters in video games anymore. Like that's just like that's not allowed to be a thing that exists. And it's like, well, okay, maybe at one point in time in the industry it was a little bit overly egregious, certainly. But going to the other extreme where it's like, no, like that's not allowed. It's like, listen, I got to tell you guys this. And I'm actually glad that this is being brought up. It's, not necessarily what I planned on talking about, but I don't know if you guys saw this. There is a scene in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League where I guess all the other characters are like frozen in place. Like they can still talk, and communicate, but they're like frozen except for Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn isn't frozen. And Deadshot is like frozen in a way where his ass is kind of sticking out a little bit. And somebody had posted this on Twitter and the caption read, remember, it's only considered sexual harassment if you're a man or something like that. Or like sexual harassment doesn't apply when you're a man. And and I was like, well, that's a pretty loaded statement. Like what could this scene possibly be showing to make somebody say like something like that? And basically what it was Harley Quinn like couldn't stop herself from two-handed squeezing Deadshot's ass and copping a feel, even though he was saying, don't do it. Don't do it. You know what I mean? Don't do it, Harley. And I get it. It's like, okay. It's like the roles are reversed. She's an attractive female and he's a dude, and it usually, but it really is like, if it was the other way, it is a little funny. I mean, it's not like they made it like egregiously sexual. It just you look at a scene like that and you're like, okay, if the roles were reversed and Harley Quinn was the one that was frozen in place and Deadshot was like, I'm gonna do it, I can't stop myself. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not gonna cross the finish line. That's not gonna make it to market because everybody's gonna be like, oh my God, how dare you? Yeah, it is a pretty. It's a pretty obvious double standard where it's like we're just weird stuff in this industry like that where it's all about feminism and balancing the scale, so to speak, and getting away from that like toxic side of it or the the more sexist side of it. It's like I get that, but again, I think balance is the key word, and some things are definitely getting out of balance. There's nothing, again, I don't think there's anything wrong getting back to Stellar Blade and the character model. There's nothing wrong at all that the developers were like, we want to make this female very attractive. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong if developers decide they want to do that for a man. It doesn't matter. Like it's there are more than enough developers in the industry at this point in time making sure that they're not making their characters sexualized or attractive for that matter. Like they're going out of their way to actually seemingly make certain characters look less visually appealing, even compared to their actual face model actors. And it's like, okay, well, if we're going to see that type of stuff happen, and people are just supposed to say, okay, that's fine, then what's wrong with some developers saying they want to go in the other direction? I don't see anything wrong with it. I do think, I do think some people are being a little bit extra with it, where it's like, maybe it's because we just don't see stuff like this that often, but yeah, people are being a little bit extra. And maybe you could make the argument, maybe the devs are being a little bit extra too, just a little bit. Because I swear, I was looking at some of those outfits, I'm like, bro, you guys know what you're doing. You know exactly who you're trying to get to buy this game. So anyway, it is an anime style game too, but you're saying because that's misogynistic and that is bad. What's weird is like, I don't understand that either sometimes, where it's like the whole, oh, it's all misogynistic. It's like, well, there are females out there that like to feel attractive, just like there are men that like to feel attractive. There are men and females who they like to do that. They do like to dress in that kind of way or, present themselves that way. And it's just, there are also people who don't. There are people who are self-conscious who don't feel comfortable doing that. And I think sometimes what we see are people who are like self-conscious and don't like doing that. They kind of project a bit because they have a problem when they see other people doing that. And it's like, I get it. Like, we're all humans. It's human nature. But it's like, come on, like, grow up, you know? Just, it's not, it's not that serious. That's the whole thing about it is, certain people in this industry have made it seem like it's, oh my God, this is, this is outrageous. And it's like, listen, maybe you should channel that energy towards the double standard that the new fucking Suicide Squad game is putting out there. So, all right. Really quick, Luden Prime says hashtag pre-order, hashtag Stellar Blade support female lead games. Yeah, I mean, shouldn't they be happy it's a female lead? You know, that's always good. Supremacy 101 with a $5 chat says, MBG, you seem to have ignored my question yesterday, but I'll ask again. Well, first off, I apologize for that, Supremacy. I went through, I thought I got everybody's chat. So if there's anybody else's chat that I missed, I really do apologize. That like never happens. But I was like totally buried, which is a good thing, but buried by the amount of chats and support that I got. I apologize for that. But you're saying, where's that extended trailer for Concord? We haven't seen it yet. Or why haven't we seen it yet? That's a great question. I wish I could tell you. I can only speculate, of course. My assumption here is that Sony wants to do one of two things with it. Number one, they want to save it for like an actual like showcase of some kind, so that way Concord can kind of stand alongside other first-party PlayStation games, just to help kind of, I guess, give it a little bit more of a stage, so to speak. They're either going to do that, or they're going to give it its own dedicated reveal. Now, that to me would be an interesting way for them to go about it, because there are basically two ways they could decide to reveal it on their own or by itself. Number one is through a state of play. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Not necessarily. I don't know if people realized yesterday, we got the first ever state of play announced inside of a state of play. Like, I think a lot of people missed that, and I don't blame them, because it's like, wait, hold on, what? Final Fantasy state of play next week? Announced inside of a state of play? So, I don't want to say it's not likely, because at this point, anything's possible. Hell, at the end of that Final Fantasy state of play, they could announce, oh, and by the way, next week, there's a Concord state of play. Sony clearly is willing to just do whatever they want. So I want to say that if Sony has confidence in this game, they're going to announce it or show the gameplay in its own dedicated state of play. They're going to come out and they'll be like, hey, join us March whatever for the first look at Concord gameplay on PS5. If they're confident in it, they'll do that. If they're not confident in it, then the other way they might reveal it is just really low key, where it's like, here's a trailer for some gameplay for Concord and a blog post. Please pre-order. Here's a release date. Bye. And I really don't know. I don't know which way that's going to go, because, I mean, Fair Games, Concord, they were both announced May of last year, and we haven't seen a single second of gameplay. I don't know what that means. I don't know why. I don't know if they're just purposely holding it back because they are very confident in it and they're like, we really want to, show this off at a bigger show, or if it's because they're nervous about it and they're like, we're kind of afraid our audience isn't going to respond well to this. So that's the best answer I can give you, Supremacy. I really am unsure of when exactly we can expect it. I will say this, though. This is the last thing I'll say about Concord for now. Again, the rumor comes from a reliable source who leaked Until Dawn, who leaked the official title of Death Stranding 2 and told us it was going to be at the state of play. They're the same source that said we're going to see Concord soon. So I guess we should just keep our eyes peeled. thing, or maybe it's not ready to show. That would be kind of surprising because apparently the game is like, from what I've read, the game is like 5+ years into development, or like it's ready to release this year. Like that's something that we should pay attention to. Is it's still ready to release this year, so it's pretty much done. That's what's weird to me, and like, I don't think it has anything to do with it not being ready. I think it has everything to do with the fact that Sony's like, we bought the studio, we put our stamp of approval on it now, as in like they belong to us, and we're going to be judged for that. The expectation is higher. The bar has been raised. So I think it comes down to like they want to make sure when they show it, it lands. That people are like, wow, okay, that's looking really good. I do believe that. Yeah, Irfan, I don't know what's up with that, man. Ballistic Moon Until Dawn. I think I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. That's actually one of the topics I have lined up. I didn't go over the new details about Until Dawn, but I have a theory about what's going on with this IP and this studio, Ballistic Moon. So Supremacy, I appreciate that, bud. We also have PS Gamer. He says, MBG, I believe Holst listens to fans. He delivered yesterday with no live service announcements, and set the tone for the PS5's next phase. Next showcase will be fire. I agree, PS Gamer. I think that, I put this post out on Twitter yesterday where I said that was easily the best state of play we've ever received. And I think that it's a phenomenal way for Sony to start 2024 and set the tone. And of course, I think I didn't really see many people being like, that was bad, because I don't think anybody could walk away from that and be like, that was bad. But I did see a lot of people being like, no, that really wasn't that good, or that was far from the best. And again, it's just everybody has different opinions. But when I think about the biggest things we've ever seen announced at a state of play, we're talking about maybe like a new God of War trailer for Ragnarok, new Spider-Man trailer, stuff like that. We've gotten some really nice, stuff like Rise of the Ronin revealed at a state of play. We've gotten Resident Evil 4 revealed at a state of play. We've seen Final Fantasy at state of play. So we've had some really solid state of plays and some really good stuff shown. But we've only been getting state of plays since 2019. I say only. It doesn't feel like it's that long, and it's just like I've never seen Sony, and I've watched every single state of play. I've watched every single one since they started. I've never seen Sony approach a state of play like this. Like they came in like they really wanted to, like we said, to set the tone, man, and to make it clear that they've heard us. And my whole thing with yesterday's state of play is if that single state of play in January can be that good without, and let this part sink in, without a single first party studio. I'm not trying to like get people overly hyped or something, or get their expectations too high, but it's like, dude, that was without a single first party studio. That's insane. Like that is, you can only begin to imagine when Sony studios are ready to actually show. You can only imagine like what those reveals are going to be like. And yeah, I just kind of can't get over the Kojima reveal. I'm sorry. I can't. Like, he basically revealed the first PlayStation 6 game, which we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk more about that. Yeah, it is. You're saying it's going to be nutty. It is. It's going to be crazy. It is going to be crazy. By the way, I need your help here for a second, because I want to read what Irfan's saying. It's Physint. Is that how you say it? Physint? Physint. Physint. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. You're saying MBG Physint's definition is very interesting. It refers to the ability of systems, particularly artificial ones like robots or machines, to understand and interact with the physical world. Yeah, I saw like physical intelligence. Yeah, that's what I saw people speculating about. They were like, "Yo, there's gonna be robots, machines." Dude, I'm not seeing enough people like I know you guys get it, but I'm not seeing enough people generally. I think it maybe is not registering with a lot of people that like, guys, this is the spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid from Kojima. Like that's what this is. For PlayStation 6 in collaboration with Sony PlayStation. Like I just don't think enough people like fully comprehend what this announcement was. Because for me, it's like no, dude, it's not about that. It's not about that. It's not about just, oh, it's Kojima. I know my shirt maybe says something else yesterday that I was wearing. I'm not wearing that shirt today. What I'm just saying is like the Metal Gear Solid series is, objectively just one of the greatest video game franchises ever created because it's just done so many insane things throughout its time. Not to say that it's not continuing, but Kojima was a huge part of that, dude. Like for a lot of people. My stream just dropped out for a minute. It says we're back. Yeah, we're good. The AI is taking over. I have a wired connection too. So I don't know why that happened. I guess it happens sometimes. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. I got hit by Lolly Lule Low. Chiral matter. I love how everybody's so quick to just like come up with all these different things. That and of course Gaming Survivor with the Astral Realm. Of course, Gaming Survivor. All right. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. What I was trying to say though, and I feel like I didn't properly convey this during yesterday's stream with the reveal. And so I want to take a moment now to just really put emphasis on this. Got my Italian hand going here. I really believed that Kojima was never going to return to something like Metal Gear Solid. Now, obviously, when he departed Konami, he had no choice but to leave Metal Gear Solid behind because that intellectual property is owned by Konami. So he would never have any involvement with it again, seemingly. And I thought because of that, there was never a chance he would ever make a game like Metal Gear again, like in that same genre, which is the genre he basically pioneered. And I think that's like something that people don't kind of realize. Like that's why he gets so much credit because he really was the first person to not only kind of really bring the stealth action, tactical espionage action, bring that to the forefront, but he also brought with it that like kind of cinematic flair that didn't really exist prior in such a way. And so to me it's truly insane to think that after all this time and after everything that has happened with the way that Metal Gear Solid 5 didn't end because we found out that basically the game was unfinished. Obviously, he's not going to be able to ever truly finish Metal Gear Solid 5, but this is kind of like, again, a new beginning. To me, I'll just be honest with you. To me, this is like a new beginning for Metal Gear Solid in the sense that, yeah, it's a new title, a new name, a new universe, new characters, new everything, new technology, but same Hideo Kojima, right? Where it's like, I'm ready, dude. Like, I'm ready for this to basically be the new Metal Gear. And I'm just shocked that we've reached this point. I didn't think that Kojima would actually come full circle in this way. I thought he would just continue with Death Stranding and with the Xbox game OD and then maybe do other different things. And the fact, honestly, that Sony is the one that got involved with this, where it's like, we want to support you with this. Like, we want to get behind you here and fund this. That it's insane to me. I know until like 2025, 2026. So it's so far away. It's so far away, but just the fact it's happening. Wait, did the stream drop? What? Did it happen again? Are we back? Fuck. It didn't even notify me that time. Saying reboot the live stream. Yeah, I have no idea what's causing this. I mean, I'll just keep it going. Hopefully it doesn't keep happening. That's very annoying. It's for like 10 seconds. I will say I fixed my capture card. I hope that's not like... I don't think that would cause any type of interference. You're saying you'd blame boss, but he's clearly not showing the Ethernet cable. No, he's good right now. All right, let me read some of these super chats before I get cut off again. Perfect Image, you're saying yesterday was all zombie games except Rise of the Ronin. I stand on my stands. I think on your stance on these zombie games. We need to stop making these games. Vita 2 with PlayStation extra features. No discs, I guess, or Perfect Image. I still try my best to fully understand your super chats, and I don't know, man. Like I'm thinking your idea of what a zombie game is might be different from like a lot of other people's, because they definitely were not all zombie games. But it's kind of funny to think like, man, Stellar Blade, zombie game. Until Dawn, zombie. Well, I guess Until Dawn could kind of be seen as a zombie game. Death Stranding 2, zombie game. What's that zombie guy doing with that zombie guitar? It's just a little funny to imagine that. You liked Rise of the Ronin, though. That's good, though. At least there was something for you. Yeah, maybe that's what maybe you mean like post-apocalyptic games. That would make more sense. There were a lot of post-apocalyptic games. If that's what you mean, then yeah. For some reason, it's funny because when somebody says a zombie game, I like don't think post-apocalyptic. I don't know why. Even though I guess that is what it is. I like legitimately just think of zombies. I just think, oh, yeah, this game's got zombies in it. But that is true. Perfect Image. Maybe there is some truth to what you're saying there. Where like, are there too many post-apocalyptic games? That's a good question. I think that's fair. That's a fair question to ask. The answer might be yes. I do like post-apocalyptic games though. I gotta say. Dave the Diver, definitely a zombie game. Well, we're going to talk about this new Sony handheld that's apparently in development. We're going to get there. I'm a little bit all over the place. I apologize. I'm not keeping this very organized. Yeah, we're popping. I'm not going to give my thoughts on it yet because we're going to go over it. So let me keep this rolling here. Thank you for that super chat, Perfect Image. We have Kevin G saying, no problem with Cat. I ride the line with my chats. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't blame my mods usually for situations like that, like I said, because sometimes YouTube can be a little weird with, the things you end up saying. Like, there's just like some words, I've discovered this, that there are just some words, if you say them in a video or on a live stream, it can like automatically get your entire stream or video demonetized just from that single word. If it like detects it. So it's really weird. And you don't really know what words they are. There are only a few that I know of, like for sure, that if you say it, it's like, well, it's over, you know. You have to cut that out. All right, let's see. I can tell you though that word in particular, like cheeks, yeah, no, that's not one of those words. That's definitely not one of those words. At least I don't think it is. We'll find out. I said the word cheeks. Boom. Demonetized. Damn, YouTube. Supremacy 101, you're saying the cost of development will mean more remasters, or rather, resold IPs across multiple gens. PlayStation 6 will be the poster child for this, if the PS5 is any indication. Yeah, I do think you're right about that, Supremacy. One of the it is pretty clear by now that one of the ways that these AAA video game publishers are going to ensure that they continue to make as much as they can from any successful franchise or IP. Yeah, I think remasters and remakes are going to continue in a big way. And you know, a lot of people were expressing frustration with not yesterday, but with the rumor of like Until Dawn's getting a remaster. You know, it's like I get it. It is a bit much, but at the same time, like I didn't jump to the conclusion that oh man, this sucks and this is too much, because I wanted to know okay, who's doing it though? Who's handling the remaster? And the team that's handling it is a brand new team called Ballistic Moon that was formed by former Supermassive devs. And I think, I mean, I'll dive into why I think there are multiple reasons they're doing this, but one of the most obvious is because they had that movie coming out and they're just like, you know, we could probably sell a decent amount of copies of this game. I think people also forget that Until Dawn was a surprise hit. But sorry, I'm not trying to hyperfixate on Until Dawn. I'm just saying you're talking about the PlayStation 6 potentially being a console that gets even more remakes and more remasters. I think it really just depends on one thing, truthfully, and that is how much people are supporting these. You know? Like I always try to tell people that no matter how annoyed you get or how tired you get of, oh man, the remakes and the remasters, you have to understand that they keep releasing for a reason. And it's because people are buying them. And you can blame those people and say, stop buying this stuff. And I get it, but it's like, dude, you're yelling at a cloud at that point. It's just the market's going to do what they want to do, and these companies are just going to respond to that. So I do think, with that being said, though, there's a responsibility with all these platform holders and publishers where it's like, lean into that and make your money and get your sales, but don't go in that direction and neglect the most important stuff, which is the new stuff. And to me, that's another great thing about that state of play is that, yeah, guess what? There was another PS5 remaster announced, but no one really was upset. Not that I saw, because how could you be? You get one remaster surrounded by pretty much almost all new games. I mean, of course, Silent Hill 2 Remake was there, but that's not Sony necessarily. So it's just like, yeah, you know, there was a good balance. There was a really good ratio of new games to remasters and remakes. And I hope with the PlayStation 6 that balance is maintained. But I am prepared, Supremacy. I am. My only recommendation to people, it's the only thing I feel like I can say, if you don't want more remasters or remakes, then don't buy them. I'm not speaking for myself. I'm just giving you that advice. I'm going to buy Until Dawn because I never played it. Like what Sony is doing with Until Dawn is literally for somebody like me, where, you know what? this is apparently a really good PS4 exclusive that was surprisingly good. And a lot of people over time have recommended I play it. So it's like, oh, okay, you got a new version, PS5 version. Okay. Yeah. Sounds good to me. But yeah, man, we just gotta speak with our wallets. Sony stopped disrespecting the PS3 generation. Yeah, so I want to mention that as well. It also depends on the type of games that Sony's remastering and remaking, because I did see people saying that, like, yo, why Until Dawn before Killzone or Infamous or something? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I get that. That is a little strange, but that's why I think there is a reason for that. But yeah, a lot of people want to see Sony give more love to the PS3 gen and their classic games and IP. The beast has awoken. Boss, please, I beg of you. Leave me alone. I just want to stream in peace. Dude, he's literally got that like anime look where he's like looking over his shoulder. All right. Supremacy, I appreciate that super chat, buddy. We have Big Nabs saying he called it the culmination of his life's work. Oof. In a good way. Oof in a good way. Yeah, dude. I hung on to every word that Kojima spoke. And by the way, I sat down with Mrs. MBG and showed her the trailer for Death Stranding 2, and I was like, "You're gonna." She is very aware of Death Stranding, and she watched me play a lot of it, and she just knows like how crazy and insane Kojima can get with his games. And I'm like, "Listen, you're gonna go into this trailer thinking that you're prepared for the level of insanity you're about to witness, but I assure you, you are not ready." And I was right, dude. Like, there were so many moments in that trailer. I was just watching her facial expressions, and I was dying laughing, man. I was like, this is amazing. We have Jake Skew 27 coming in, starting us off today with some membership gifts. With a gift, he drops a membership gift as he usually does. Jake, I appreciate that, man. The membership train rolls on. Let me add that to the counter, man. I appreciate the support, Jake. Let me see. We got Supremacy 101 here again with another chat. He says, you're saying I'm with that expect more layoffs and AI to go along loot box oriented games. Do you see Sony buying a publisher this year or making a studio with former employees of other publishers like ABK and so on? It's a good question. Sony's been pretty quiet on the acquisition front, and here's what I'll say. I think Sony is going to make an acquisition this year, but I don't think it's going to be a publisher. I'm going to see if I can just raise my screen. There we go. I'm going to be looking up a lot higher now, but this is necessary in order for me to see over this giant beast of a cat. I do think Sony's going to make an acquisition this year for sure at some point, but I now more than ever believe Sony is definitely not buying a publisher. I just don't think Sony wants to have anything to do with that. It's too risky at this point for them. And there's really no reason. I mean, if we look at Microsoft's recent earnings, Microsoft is out here like smashing. Really, boss? Just smashing all the records that, all of them. Every single record except for hardware, of course. Hardware is actually still not looking good, but it's like of course, like like Microsoft paid nearly $70 billion to be able to report that to their shareholders. And it's I just don't it's not really as good as it seems, so to speak, if that makes sense. Where it's like you still got a long road ahead to, getting to where you need to be, regardless of how good these numbers look. I mean, this is a big step forward, of course, but I just don't think Sony feels like they're in that position. I don't think Sony is like looking around and thinking like, man, we are falling behind. It's like I mean, maybe they feel like they are, but I don't know. I don't get that feeling that Sony's falling behind. I look at it as the only area where they've maybe fallen a little bit behind is with first party announcements, but it's because these things take time. And I think what matters more than anything is that those first party announcements and games actually land, you know. But it's a great question. Is Sony going to actually buy a publisher this year? My answer to that is probably not. I highly, highly doubt that. Is Sony going to buy another studio or two? Yeah, I think they will. I wouldn't be surprised if Ballistic Moon is one of those studios that they end up acquiring. Also, you mentioned the idea of Sony maybe forming a new studio with some Activision Blizzard developers that were laid off. I want to say that's less likely. I think what will happen is a lot of these development teams form new studios and Sony will likely go shopping. Sony will go shopping. Just like they did with Deviation and Firewalk and Haven. And they'll create partnerships with any studios that seem like they have potential. And if those partnerships bloom into something such as an acquisition, then yeah, I think we could see that. Boss, why? Look, listen, boss, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not so sure we're going to be getting some treats today. And by the way, I'm sorry, Crooked Vulture, my bad. I think some stuff's a little bit delayed here. Crooked Vulture comes in and drops a membership gift as well today. Guys, let's get some W's flowing in the chat. It's a little bit late here, but get some W's flowing in the chat for Crooked Vulture. I appreciate that, man. He brings us up to 2 members on the day. Thank you for that. Thank you to everybody still gifting memberships. You can't chew my wire, boss. Be good. All right, here we go. Ready? Okay, I know the mic turned off for a minute. That's my bad. I keep forgetting that when I turn my mic 180, it unplugs every time. But then I don't know if you heard it. Boss was actually licking the mic. First time he ever did that. He's getting crazier and crazier, dude. Sorry about that. Total chaos. All right, let me see where I'm at here. We got George saying, "Let's pray we're alive by the time Kojima's new game comes out." Yeah, I hope so, man. I mean, not to get needlessly dark, but it could be like close to a decade till we see this game. So, a lot could happen. A lot could happen. So I'm right there with you, George. We got Miguel saying, "I was 12 when MGS1 came out. It was fire." That's awesome. I was really young when MGS came out. I think I was like 5. So I definitely wasn't playing it when it came out. I wasn't even aware of it. I was too young. But MGS2 for me is where I really discovered Metal Gear and was like, whoa. Supremacy 101 with another $5 super chat here. Boss, listen, man, I'm sorry. Get away. I'm going to have to escort you away from the... No, boss. No. He's fighting me. Dude, boss is legitimately fighting me. I just went to go push him like this. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. I go where I want. I do what I want. I think this is his way of asserting his dominance. I do. Let me see. We got Supremacy 101 again. I'm sorry, man. You're saying my previous $5 super chat didn't show up, so you won't get the context of my $10 one. But with costs on the rise, I can see more remasters, more so on PlayStation 6. So I did get that one. I don't know why it didn't show up for you, but I did get that. But either way, I appreciate the super chats, man. I think that's where people need to try their best. And I'll say this, I'll add this to the conversation about remakes and remasters. I think people need to try their best to understand that, listen, when a game like Horizon Zero Dawn inevitably gets remastered, I know it's going to be annoying. And people are going to be like, wow, what a waste. But it might be best to try to look at it from a more positive standpoint where it's like, okay, well, that's not for me. And so I'm not interested in it, but it's going to be for some people. And whatever money, boss, I'm sorry, you're getting out of hand now. You are actually, you got to go. Say bye, everybody. You're gonna have to chill on me now, boss. He's violently chewing my microphone cord. He's gonna disconnect the cord or sever it. So I didn't want it to come to this, boss. But now you're gonna have to get suplex. No, I'm just kidding. You're just gonna have to chill here with me. Boss is a superstar. What are you doing? I just think anytime there seems to be an unnecessary remaster, I think people should try to just look at it as that's extra money that can be made for the studio, for, their projects. And I get it. Not everybody's going to want to see it that way, but I'm just saying, try to look at it as positively as you can, boss. Okay. I will escort you out of this room, boy. You are being way too defiant in front of everybody. Me and Boss are about to throw down, We got, let me see. Who do we have here? Alex Mercer, the prototype, says Infamous 1 remake with the Decima engine, Sony. Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know. Did you guys go back and watch the Death Stranding trailer in 4K? Because I did, and oh my God, dude. Like, I'm not even playing right now. Some of those shots look like real life. I'm like, well, real life in the sense that there's a shot of the moon for God's sakes, like just staring at the moon. Reminded me of Bloodborne a little bit, but oh my God, that game looks insane. Yeah, it legitimately looks like CGI. Like, I was actually questioning. I'm like, is that like this is what the game's gonna look like, right? Like when I'm playing it, it looks very photorealistic. It looks very, very good. And I had a feeling it would. I did. The Decima engine flexing big time here. I remember how impressive Death Stranding was. I feel like it kind of got overlooked, like how graphically impressive Death Stranding was because of the controversy around the gameplay mechanics. But it was one of the most impressive games that came out that generation and still holds up incredibly well. And I knew, I'm like, this is going to be PS5 only. It's Kojima. He loves to push the graphical fidelity, and I fully expected it was going to look good. And man, it really lived up. Like, it looked insane. So anything on the Decima engine is probably going to look really good. Zombie Fanatic says, why have Sony ignored PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility? They're like Rockstar ignoring GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption 2. Do you think Sony will do PS3 back compat for the PlayStation 6? Well, there have been multiple rumors over the years. Whether or not there's truth to them remains to be seen, but the rumors basically claim that Sony is working on it, but it's taking a very, very, very long time because they have to basically manually do all of, like, they have to manually go back for like each game because every game was made differently. Like it all, I'm not technical enough to know the inner workings of this, but basically it seems like the reason why we haven't heard anything is because they're just slowly, meticulously going through each game as best they can because of the PlayStation 3's hardware and how the cell processor made it so that every development team like did something different and unique for their game. So, one solution they find for this game won't work for like most other games, or if not all other games. It's really weird. Really got to wonder like what Sony was thinking with the PS3. Um, Definitely not forward thinking of them. I don't think they realized how much of a problem it was going to be in the future. But there have been enough rumors and enough. I remember there was like a job listing before that stated they were looking for somebody to kind of work on this stuff, and Mark Cerny I think's been kind of working on it. So it seems like eventually we're going to get something for the PS3, but it might not be until, like you're saying here, maybe the PlayStation 6 or maybe even later with the PlayStation 6. But there's no way in my mind that Sony can just walk away and do nothing because even when it comes to cloud streaming these PS3 games, I mean, how long is that going to work for until you need to, until those PS3 server blades start dying out? Like they're eventually going to be forced to find a new solution, and that's why I think they've been working on one. But then again, I don't want to sit here and say like, so just hang tight. They're going to make a big announcement. I don't know. They might give up on it. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I guess there's a part of me that just believes like surely Sony won't just, you know, move on with the PlayStation 6 and beyond and just pretend the PS3 never existed, right? But maybe they will. Maybe they will. So I appreciate that super chat, Zombie Fanatic. We also have Disco Cobra 2013 coming in with a $20 super chat. So thank you for that, Disco Cobra. You're saying, have you got to the PlayStation handheld yet? I have a PSP 1000 and a Vita. Haven't played them much yet, but I'm in the market for it. Also have a Switch, Legion Go, and Abernac handheld. I'm still getting into them. I haven't covered it yet. So I do apologize keeping you guys waiting. That's actually, I'm going to move on to that. I really thought I went into the stream with a good plan and it quickly fell apart. So you're not late to it. We're going to cover it in just a moment here. But when it comes to handhelds, man, if there's one thing that I've learned from the audience that buys and plays handhelds is they're very, very passionate. Most of them, not every single person, but a lot of people that have come to my channel have expressed immense passion for the, handheld gaming experience. And particularly because we're a PlayStation channel here, a lot of PlayStation fans feeling like, man, the Vita, the GOAT, and Sony abandoned it. Sony left it. They walked away from it. The PSP, I had a PSP for a little while when I was younger. I mean, obviously Nintendo is dominant in the handheld space right now. But the I want to say this: the PlayStation Portal is the newest handheld from Sony, and a lot of people were very like confused by it. Like, just think Sony, like, why are you doing this? Like, why not just do a traditional handheld? And some people speculated, and I kind of partook in this a little bit. They were like, well, maybe Sony's just testing it out. This is like a test bed to see like how are people going to respond to just a type of handheld from us. Will we get a positive response? And even though it's not native, it's remote play. the response has seemingly been extremely positive, dude. Like, it's still sold out, I think, which is insane to me. I don't know how this thing is still sold out, but it got a much more positive reception than I think even Sony was expecting. Certainly more so than I was expecting. So when we go over this news about the Sony handheld, I think if it's, again, if the rumor's true, then I think it means that this was basically just a bit of a test bed for Sony to just kind of almost like not like a proof, maybe, I mean, yeah, maybe like a proof of concept in a way. Just like, hey, what if we just take like a tablet screen, a decent quality tablet screen, cut a DualSense in half? How are people going to respond to that? It's like, well, people are buying it. People have come to my channel saying they're using it. So what's the next logical step? I mean, to me, it's very telling that the PlayStation Portal internally was named the Q Lite handheld. Q Lite, as in there's another more premium or pro version of it or something, like a more robust version of it that's coming later. Q Heavy. I don't know what it would be called, but we're going to go over that in just a minute. So Disco, thank you so much for the super chat, man. I really appreciate all the support and all the love you've been showing the channel. It really means a lot. And we have Supremacy 101 showing a lot of support too with more super chats here saying, cost aside, they should remake Siphon Filter, Motorstorm, Infamous, Uncharted, Killzone, OG God of War, SOCOM, Warhawk, Primal, Legend of Dragoon, Jack and Daxter. I mean, at that point, Supremacy, PlayStation Studios, all remake studios. I'll tell you right now, we're not getting most of that. You're saying because the PS4 remasters isn't exactly an appealing sell. Well, let me see here. The games you listed, Siphon Filter. I don't think we're going to get a Siphon Filter remake. Motorstorm. Interesting thing about Motorstorm. Apparently, like there were some rumors not that long ago that there is a new Motorstorm in development. I don't know at which studio, but Sony's working on a Motorstorm. We'll see if that turns out to be true. Infamous. Unfortunately, I don't think anything's going to happen with Infamous. We've talked a lot about how getting a new Infamous for PlayStation would be sick, but Sucker Punch had to address it and basically tell people, like, we're not working on Infamous. Like Sucker Punch is all in with Ghost of Tsushima, and frankly, it's because Ghost of Tsushima, I think, is bigger than Infamous ever was. That's just the reality of it. But the idea of Sony tapping into Infamous 1 and 2 and maybe one day down the road with like something like Second Son and doing some remasters and remakes, I think people would like that. So Infamous, I would say, probably not anytime soon. Uncharted, again, there are rumors that a new Uncharted is coming. Not from Naughty Dog, but from another studio. Killzone's a strange one, man. I don't think anything's happening with Killzone. I think Killzone might be dead. However, fans were going nuts. Speaking of The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, one of the unlockable outfits that Ellie has in The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is a Killzone shirt. And it kind of got fans going a little nuts. Like, yo, please God, tell me this is a tease. It's like, I don't know that it's a tease, man. But could be a hint. I mean, I don't think so. If I'm being honest, I just don't think so. Warhawk, I don't think there's any chance Warhawk comes back. SOCOM, I got to be honest with you, I am flabbergasted that Sony has not done anything with SOCOM yet. I mean, maybe they just haven't found the right studio, but I cannot believe Sony has not done anything with SOCOM. I feel like that's just an easy win. I don't know that SOCOM would be the next big thing, but I think it would fill a nice gap within Sony's portfolio. Primal, I don't think so. Legend of Dragoon, maybe. I feel like Legend of Dragoon is probably one of the more likely remakes that we could end up getting in the future. A lot of people have been asking for that. And then Jack and Daxter. I don't know. I mean, Jack and Daxter's kind of like maybe one day we'll get like a trilogy remaster or something at the end of the PS5's life cycle or with the PlayStation 6. But when it comes to like Naughty Dog making another Jack and Daxter, no way. I think Naughty Dog's done with those type of games, man. So, Supremacy, I'll just read your last super chat here to get all caught up with you. You're saying, to me, the solution to that PS3 issue is to remake all of the PS3 exclusives regardless of cost. It will pay dividends in the long run. Resistance remake. I mean, that would be a colossal undertaking. Like, the only problem with that, because I think it's a good idea on paper. Like, hey, we can't bring these games for, like, this is the only way we could bring these games forward, right? And we want to do it for the PlayStation fan base. The problem with that is just the amount of resource required to do that. You know, you're talking a whole library of games for an entire generation. And Sony is limited in their studio, or, you know, the amount of studios they have, the amount of teams that they can work with, even with second and third party. But if they really wanted to take their time and do it over time, they probably could. And I think fans would love that. So I don't know, maybe it's something Sony should consider, but I'm just not, you know, we also have to worry that if Sony were to do that and it's like Resistance, right? Apparently Resistance didn't sell well, or at least it sold worse and worse with each installment. And it's like, if you're Sony, you probably look at that and are like, who's going to buy that? You know, we're at a point where like we need to be selling like, boss. All right, come on. We're at a point where we need to be selling like, you know, millions of copies of games at minimum. And we need games to really hit. You could kind of understand from Sony's standpoint where they're like, is it really smart of us to go back to a franchise where every new installment was selling less and less, selling worse and worse, like substantially? You know, it's a tough thing, man. It's a tough thing. But I appreciate all the super chat, Supremacy. Definitely some interesting stuff to think about. The Chemical King says, I think Sony should remake / remaster the Resistance trilogy if it sells well. Speaking of Resistance, work on the fourth. Very sad to hear they were making one and it got canceled. All right. Hold on. Well, again, man, like the reason why the fourth one got like we didn't hear exactly why it got canceled, but it's pretty obvious, right? Why it got canceled. They were working probably very briefly on Resistance 4, and Resistance, again, it wasn't selling well. So it's like they probably felt like, well, we got to do this, right? This is our like one of our main franchises. But then they get the opportunity. Hey, do you guys want to make Spider-Man? It's like, Resistance, what? Get that out of here. We're making Spider-Man. And look at where that led the studio. So I just don't think Resistance is ever coming back, man. I don't think we're ever going to get a remake or a remaster. I think when it comes to first-person shooters, Sony is all about just new games from new studios. That's what I think. But you're not the only one who would love to see a Resistance remake or remaster or a fourth one. Sad to say. We also have King Sam. He says, I looked at the gameplay for Death Stranding and I think it's just not for me. Would you still recommend I give it a try? Walking sim or something more? I will say that Death Stranding's gameplay is deceptive when you're watching it. It is one of those unique games where you can only gather so much by watching the gameplay. And I will tell you that, like, for me, when I played Death Stranding, it didn't instantly click for me. Like, I had to kind of figure out all the different intricacies of delivering these packages and traveling from point A to point B. And by the time I started getting to, I guess, like 1/4 of the way into the game, I really was like, okay, this is getting kind of addicting now. And I realized that the gameplay loop of Death Stranding became addicting. Like, I actually really began to get a new sense of satisfaction from it that I wasn't getting earlier in the game, because it does take again quite a bit to get used to. And it's not necessarily a walking sim, because there are just so many different elements of the game that I think go kind of like overlooked, where, for example, this is something small, and I feel like you can't really have this properly conveyed by watching it, but when you are traveling with a large amount of packages on your back, and and maybe like a cart attached, like tethered to you as well, and you encounter, like, okay, I have like a pretty steep rocky mountain that I gotta climb, and you're pretty sure you can get it, and then you get like halfway up and you realize, okay, this is like actually becoming very difficult and challenging, and then suddenly you lose some packages. You're questioning, how damaged are those packages, right? And you're realizing that, okay, this is eating up more time. This is going to affect my grading, and it just becomes this. I don't know, man. It becomes just something where there's some type of unique challenge there that is just not traditional. With, at least for me, like, not at all anything like any type of challenge I've experienced in other games before, where it's like it's just me out here with some packages and I'm fucking stressed and I'm like sweating. I'm like, yo, am I gonna make this shit? And then don't even get me started when you're getting to close to the end of your run, where it's like, okay, my destination's right there, and then you're like, but I just got to make it through this giant section of BTs, which are like the enemies that, you have to kind of sneak around, right? Because they'll mess you up, and it's like, and then the progression of the game, when you get deep into the game and you get to like the end game of Death Stranding, and it's you become a pro, and you got like there's like roads built, there's trucks you can use to transport stuff, and it's just like you're good. It just is so funny, because something as boring and simple as that on the surface sounds so like, okay, man, who cares? Like, you can drive a truck. You can put packages in a truck and drive them on a road. It's like, trust me, man, you don't fully appreciate just simply getting into a truck, driving on a straight, clear, narrow path from point A to point B until you play through Death Stranding, okay? Until you actually get to that point in Death Stranding. They will make you, and zip lines. Oh my God. Lifesaver. So anyway, I'm getting away from your question. Here's what I can say. I can't promise you that Death Stranding will be for you. I would say go in at your own risk. Go with your gut. If your gut's telling you you're just really not going to enjoy it, then just stick with that, because the truth is, there are people that I've encountered that are like, yeah, I tried it and it just wasn't for me. I can only give you my personal experience. I'll say this last thing about it. Death Stranding is a game that requires you to go in with an open mind. If you go into Death Stranding expecting something traditional, you will be let down, disappointed, and very confused. But if you go in with an open mind, being like, I'm ready for whatever this game is, and I'm ready to learn how to play it, and I'm ready to figure out the different intricacies and nuance of something as simple as delivering some packages, then you'll likely find that, at the beginning you're just scratching the surface. Once you get deeper into it, there are some very special moments in that game. So yeah, and it's not to say, look, I'm not, to be clear, I'm not saying if you didn't like Death Stranding, you're closed-minded. I want to make it very clear that's not what I'm saying. You can absolutely go into the game with an open mind and still discover, like, it's just not for me. Because there were moments in Death Stranding where I was annoyed and frustrated, and I wanted to give up, because I'm like, man, what am I doing here? I'm like, I'm on top of a mountain, snow, lost all my packages, realized I got to start the whole thing over. I'm like, what's going on here? But, then you rise to the challenge. Also, I got one last thing I want to say. I think the boss battles in Death Stranding are a little bit underrated. Just a little bit. Like, I think people don't talk about the fact that the boss battles are pretty action-packed. Everybody kind of talks about Death Stranding as like, oh, it's just a walking simulator. It's like, okay, yes, the bulk of the time you are delivering packages and stuff. It's not like a shooter. But from what I recall with the boss battles, like, I mean, I recall shooting the shit out of these things, bro. Like, loading up. But I don't know. It has been a while, so maybe I'm misremembering some of those battles. The bosses and the BTs are daunting and stressful. Dude, nothing is more It's all coming back to me now. Nothing is more stressful than a boss battle in Death Stranding where you are like you do have your packages and you're like, man, I really don't want to put these down. I don't want to lose these. And you're just desperately trying to not damage. Like, you're literally fighting a boss that's trying to kill you. And you're just like, please don't hurt my packages. It's so funny. I'm so curious to see more of Death Stranding. Like, I feel like I got so many answers yesterday, but also there's still so many questions. I don't know if you're subscribed to like PlayStation Plus Extra or not. I think Death Stranding's still in there. I would recommend trying it through that. So I don't know how much Death Stranding actually costs these days, but oh, by the way, when I was rewatching the Death Stranding 2 trailer, did you guys notice that scene between Higgs and Sam where I guess he captured Sam and he picked up his rifle, like Sam was holding an assault rifle, and he picked it up and he's like, "Oh, I guess you traded in your rope for a stick this time." He's like, "I guess even porters or something, like even they got to pull the trigger every now and again." Something along those lines. And basically, like, that was I don't know if people know, that was a direct hint that you're gonna be shooting a lot more things in it. Like, there's gonna be a lot more gunplay this time around, because the whole concept of Death Stranding 1 was like, you can choose the stick or the rope, and the stick is, more like violence, in this case, shooting shit with your gun. Yeah, you're gonna be shooting the shit out of robots. Let's do it. I'm ready. This time you can go crazy with the violence because you're being violent against machines. So, not a big deal. So I don't know. Hopefully that helps you out, King Sam. Again, it's just go with your gut. Really quick, Gonzalo says, MBG, what's your opinion regardless of the Xbox saying the showcase was bad because of the graphical downgrade of Stellar Blade or the bad graphics of Silent Hill 2? Well, Gonzalo, I'll tell you right now, I've hardly seen anybody's opinions on, like, honestly, most of the opinions I've been subjected to and have seen are you guys, like what you guys were saying yesterday, what you're saying today. I've seen a couple of things, but I don't know, man. Like, I didn't see a graphical downgrade in Stellar Blade. I mean, if there was one, it wasn't that noticeable. My biggest letdown yesterday was probably Silent Hill 2 Remake, just because it's like, it still looks like it has a lot of potential. The two big problems with the Silent Hill 2 Remake trailer, in my opinion, were it's clear the game needs more time. Like, the game does look rough, like, animation-wise. They need to smooth out those animations. They need to clean up some of the, well, not actually clean up, I guess make it dirtier, if that makes sense, from an artistic standpoint, where like there were too many scenes in that trailer that looked too clean. Like it looks like it, I mean, it really did look like, so I understand when people talked about Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake, they were like, okay, that looks too real, or like too it lost its art style. And I'm like, well, I get that, like, because there was definitely like a green haze with MGS3 that's not there with the remake. But I feel like a game like MGS3 kind of makes more sense to lean more so in the cleaner, more realistic visuals, because it probably isn't going to lose that much. You know, like you're in a jungle. But so I understand what people are saying there, but I feel like with Silent Hill 2, you are like that. Now you're risking too much, because so much. I mean, like half of what Silent Hill 2 is it's just the look and the feel and the atmosphere. Like just the feel of that, the feeling of just looking at this game, like what it evokes. And I feel like there were too many scenes that just like there were some that looked really good, and I'm like, ooh, that's a good shot. And there were others, like mainly when there was combat, where I'm like, this something just looks kind of off here. Like it doesn't look. I don't know how to describe it. Like it's supposed to look like rusty, you know. It's supposed to look just this kind of unsettling visual strike, you know, striking, just kind of evoking a feeling of just like unease and almost disgust, you know? And that just wasn't there for some reason. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know how they're going to, maybe there's just nothing they can do about it. Maybe that's just the cost of trying to remake the game. But also another huge criticism, I don't know if you guys paid attention, the second time around watching that trailer, they need to fix the audio. Like it has like some of the worst, I don't know, man, like the gunshots sound muffled and weird. Like it just doesn't sound right. Also, what was up with the music, man? You know, what like the music, I just, I don't know. It didn't, something about the whole vibe of that trailer was off. Yeah, the music, like once that music kicked in, I was just like, who who did this? This is not good. I mean, I get it. Like it's not bad. It's just I don't know if it was the pacing of it. I saw people basically saying like, "Yo, who the hell thought that Silent Hill 2 needed a combat trailer?" And I was like, "Yeah, it kind of that's not really what needs to be highlighted, you know, at this moment in time. Like, I don't know. I don't want to be too hard on it because it still looks like it has potential, and I'm still gonna play it. It's just, I guess I expected a lot more. You're saying his face also looked kind of weird. Something that people were saying, and I am in agreement, is they're like, dude, this just doesn't look like modern. Like this just doesn't look like a modern remake. It looks maybe like last gen or like beginning of last gen. And I have to agree. Like when I was rewatching, I'm like, it just, we're in a day and age where you look at games like Resident Evil and the way they're being remade. I mean, just even with like Resident Evil 4. And it's like, we absolutely could get something like that for Silent Hill 2. But I don't think we're getting something like that from Bluebird Team for Silent Hill 2. And I'll just say this last thing, because I know I'm taking forever to get to the main topic of talking about the dedicated PlayStation handheld. I apologize. I'll just say that a lot of people were telling me since this game was revealed, Bluebird Team, this is concerning. This is worrisome. No thanks. This is going to be bad. And I remained optimistic. I'm like, no, the trailer looks good. Or the reveal trailer looked good. I have faith. I have hope in them. And then I see this trailer and I'm like, ooh, oh, I don't know. This might be a mistake. And here's what I'll say. There's still time. They didn't give a release date. And that could very well have been intentional because they're like, maybe they realize this just isn't going to look that great and they need more time to, they can still turn it around if they take in the feedback that people are giving them right now and they focus in on that. But we'll see, man. All right, we have Pugmaster the Supreme says, I'm hoping for God of War Greek Saga remaster or remake. I don't think the original God of War games will get remade. I could see them getting like intense remasters to bring them up. And apparently there was like a rumor claiming that at least the first God of War is getting like a full remaster or something. So I do think that we will get that. Yeah. I mean, God of War, keep in mind, like God of War is easily one of Sony's, if not their most successful franchise behind like Gran Turismo. So the idea that they're just going to be like, okay, well, Ragnarok's done and it'll probably be another 6 or 7 years till we get another God of War game. Like they're not just not going to do anything, you know. We have the Chemical King again saying, thinking about how Jason Blundell is at PlayStation, it would be great to see what he could do with Resistance. That would be interesting to see. Yeah, actually, that would be fascinating. But I'll tell you this: it Jason Blundell. People keep asking me like, "What do you think he's doing there, man? Like, what is he? Does he have his own studio?" My thoughts on Jason Blundell's: he has to be working on something shooter related, right? And I think it's one of two things. He's either with a current team like Firewalk or something, or he really was given the chance to create, like basically Sony was like, we're going to create a new studio and put you at the helm, and we want you to work on some kind of first person game, some kind of first person shooter. Have him work on SOCOM. I don't know, because again, he's known for zombies. He was the creator of the zombies mode, so it's like I don't even think. I mean, I don't know what to make of that. You know, like does Sony want to get their own zombie game that's like similar to Call of Duty Zombies? I don't know. Don't tell don't tell Perfect Image that though. Saying Blundell is overrated. We'll find out. We'll find out. So Chemical King, we'll have to see what Jason Blundell's working on, man. Alex Mercer, the prototype, says when Joker Troy Baker starts playing Guitar Hero. Oh man, I mean, who who else is putting something like that in their games, but somehow pulls it off? Did anybody else get the feeling? Because I was watching that scene again in the trailer with Troy Baker, and I just like got this feeling, man, Troy Baker is probably loving every moment. Like I just feel like this is his favorite role. Like he's just totally loving this. Because if you think about it, like Higgs, it's just Troy Baker. It's his likeness. It's his voice. He's not putting on a different type of voice. It's just Troy Baker. Yeah, he is Higgs. So I think he's absolutely loving the direction. Like I could just see it now. Kojima's telling him like, "All right, this is where we're gonna go with your character," and he's just like, "I love it. Yes, let's go." And he's killing it, man. Where's Nolan North? Yeah, I don't know. Good question. Troy does love himself. Chris B, you're saying Resident Evil 4 Remake did a good job of keeping the vibe of the original while adding more to it. Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of why I use that and Resident Evil 2 Remake as examples where it's like, I won't lie, that's an extremely high bar. What Capcom did for RE4 Remake as well as RE2 Remake, it's like, that's tough. That's tough because the bar is as high as it could possibly be. And I don't know, it's just when you think of something like Silent Hill 2, it's like, it is a legendary game. It deserves that. It deserves that level of care and detail, and I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to get delayed. Like they didn't give it a release date, but I think it's going to get like I think Konami's basically going to turn in like, guys, please, like take as long as you need. Just please don't mess this up. Either that or Konami's regretting their decision. We'll find out. What if they just cancel it? Just like, you know what? Never mind. We're done. You know, we tried and we're just done. I don't think so. Kane Z7 says, Yo, MBG, I love the state of play yesterday, especially the Stellar Blade part. Also, shout out to the little Sylvester sleeping in the background. Yeah, boss has calmed down now. I don't know why he's facing that way, though. I guess he just likes facing that way better. But, yeah, man, the state of play was very good. It's really nice to see so many people being so positive about it, where it's like, yeah, that was solid, man. That was really good. I just feel like it's been a long time since I've seen that, and it's nice. I hope Sony keeps it up, man. I hope this is just the beginning of a new phase for PlayStation. But guys, I have to dive into this topic now. I've been sitting here talking about everything else but the title. All right, here we go. The title of this article from WCCF Tech, New PlayStation Handheld powered by AMD is in early development, and it will maintain compatibility with PS4, PS5 titles. A new PlayStation Handheld powered by AMD is in early development and will apparently be compatible with both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 titles. As reported by Moore's Law is Dead in a new YouTube video, the Japanese company is apparently planning to re-enter the handheld market with new hardware. The console will be powered by a custom AMD APU and is currently in the high-level design phase, meaning that it is at least 2 years away and hasn't been greenlit for release yet. The specifications for this new PlayStation handheld have yet to be defined, but Moore's Law is Dead speculates it's likely to utilize 18 compute units to maintain compatibility with all PlayStation 4 titles available on the PlayStation Store. In addition, the console will be compatible with the PlayStation 5 with PlayStation 5 titles as well, although developers would have to patch them to make them run properly on the console. As such, it's plausible the new system's GPU could run at 1.8 GHz or slower due to the PS5's variable clock speeds. While the new PlayStation handheld could be just 2 years away, there's a chance it will take more time to see if it releases, to see its release if it is greenlit, as it has been suggested to Moore's Law is Dead that the console will be part of the PlayStation 6 family as a handheld alternative meant for the Japanese market. Guys, who did I not call this shit? I called this. I said this multiple times. I know you guys know this. I mean, I say so much on my streams, but I said multiple times that, man, what if Sony decides with the PlayStation 6 to basically release like a traditional PlayStation 6 console, but also have like a handheld version that, I mean, I don't want to say like is just like this. It's not the Switch because they're going to be two distinct separate things, but it's going to be for people who are like, I just want a handheld that can do that. I don't want a home console. I mean, this is so fascinating to me because it just seems like the next logical step, because everybody's like kind of realizing now that the technology is getting there like really quickly, like really, really quickly. Here's the thing though. He says apparently that this new handheld from Sony is going to be, it's going to be in the PlayStation 6 family, but he mentions it only playing PS5 and PS4 games. I mean, is it possible that it will be a handheld that you could play PlayStation 6 games through the cloud, you know, and you can play PS5 and PS4 games natively? I mean, we're getting some like really rough specifications here, or like very, you know, again, it's saying like GPU would have to run at 1.8 gigahertz, 18 compute units. I mean, it sounds like we don't really know what the actual specifications would be. But well, hold on, let me back up for a minute here. Apparently, Sony's re-entering the handheld market. Let's just acknowledge that for a second. This is not just some random rumor. Apparently, I don't know, Moore's Law is dead has apparently been correct about some stuff in the past, at least some hardware stuff. So the thing that is fascinating to me is it apparently says it's currently in the high level design phase, meaning that it's at least 2 years away. And it also hasn't been greenlit for release yet. So it means that it's kind of in this process of development where it could get canceled. But I'm thinking that's not going to happen. I'm thinking that this is very smart of Sony because it's just like, well, look at what's happening. The Switch, people love it. You have, listen, I'm just going to put it as simply as this. It makes no sense to me that right now, if you want, you can buy a Steam Deck, which is a portable handheld console, essentially, that can play God of War, that can play Horizon Zero Dawn, that will soon probably be able to play Horizon Forbidden West, that can play Ratchet and Clank, that can play Spider-Man, play Days Gone. It can play all of these PlayStation exclusive games or PlayStation Studios made games. And granted, yeah, you have to play them at much lower fidelity, but that's not the point. The point is you can play these games on the go by buying a product that's not made by Sony. You know, it's if you're Sony, you have to do this. You have to. And I think maybe the way they're approaching it, it could be the smartest in between right now, where realistically, I don't think Sony could create a dedicated handheld that can match what the PlayStation 6 will do. Not even close. Even if it's scaled down. I just don't know that we're going to see. I mean, I see that's where I'm not familiar enough with the technology today, like AMD's technology. I'm not familiar enough to know if by the time we get to 2027 and 2028, is that possible? I mean, what is going to be inside the PlayStation 6, and will PlayStation 6 games be able to just be scaled down to a handheld that is nowhere near as powerful? Are we like very close to that? My gut tells me we're getting very close to it if we're not already there. You're saying it's very possible. Unknown says no. I mean, well, it apparently it is going to be a custom APU. So, and yeah, I wonder how much it would cost as well. I don't know. Is there okay? Here's another question. Is there a chance that Sony might not go crazy with the PlayStation 6? Is there a chance that Sony is not going to try to have like, well, see, no, that doesn't make any sense because there's going to be a PS5 Pro as well. So that could be a problem. It will cloud stream PlayStation 6 games. That's what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Sony will offer a handheld that is going to make everybody happy because it's like, well, think about it. If this handheld comes out around the time the PlayStation 6 comes out, that we're looking at 2027, 2028. So it's a ways away. Saying not to mention Steam Deck has Steam Library Plus emulators. Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah. I'm thinking Sony will release this thing and they'll come out and they'll say, "Hey, you can play PS4 games natively. You have access to the entire PS4 library. You have access to the entire PS5 library or the majority of it. And you'll even have access to the PlayStation 6 library through cloud streaming." I mean, I think people would be all fucking over that, dude. I would be all over that. I mean, does that not sound amazing? I mean, maybe the only disappointing part is that, oh, we can only stream PS6 games, but it's like, just think about that. Like, think about having a dedicated PlayStation handheld, a native hardware that like you can just play PS4 and PS5 games on it. And yeah, and the PS Plus library as well. I mean, that sounds insane. Like I think that sounds like the dream, doesn't it? PS Gamer, you're saying MBG, do you think the quality of the state of play yesterday has any relevance to Jim Ryan leaving and the shift in PlayStation strategy? Hmm. I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to determine, man. Like, it's such a great question because I will tell you, like, yesterday's state of play felt, I don't think I'm the only one. Like, something just felt different yesterday. Something felt different. Like, whoever put that state of play together, there was just a different energy behind it this time. And I don't know. I'm not so sure though, because like, I think Jim Ryan, he was the head of PlayStation in 2020 and 2021 when I remember that was like the last time I felt energy like this, where it was like, shit, like they're going in hard. And he was the CEO then. So I think that it's clear that something happened internally at Sony over the last year and a half that caused a lot of chaos and friction, like maybe needless friction, even if that friction is just between Sony and the fan base. But I feel like yesterday, it was like the first time I really felt like that was kind of gone. Like Sony knew, whoever put that show on, they knew like what to deliver. They knew that. I mean, let's face it, guys. It wasn't a showcase, but they basically constructed it like it was just some kind of showcase, especially with the one more thing announcement with Kojima, right? And the Final Fantasy State of Play. It's just like Sony came out as if they had something to prove again. And I think that's why I really loved it. Because it didn't, I know it's not perfect because we still need to see their first party stuff, but it feels like what people are saying is that they're listening. Like they're listening to the fans. Be like, okay, like we have to put on a good show for you guys. And sure, it's like, oh, great. Kojima's PlayStation 6 game. How exciting. Can't wait to play it 7 years from now. It's like, well, still, it's a big deal. You know, so it's like they did, again, man, like, would you ever expect to get something like that announced at a state of play? I wouldn't. To me, that's like a showcase level announcement. And they're like, no, let's put it in the state of play. I think, and Herman Hulst was there. I think this was her again. I think maybe Herman felt like this was kind of personal. I don't know. I don't know, man. We will never know. Just an FYI, it's Killian Murphy. Is it really? Are you kidding me? So I've been pronouncing his name wrong this whole time. I've been saying Cillian Murphy. It's Killian? Oh my god. Okay. What the hell? So PS Gamer, to answer your question, pronunciation debuff. To answer your question, I think something changed. I don't know it's as simple as, well, Jim Ryan's not going to be the CEO anymore. But something definitely changed. And I'm not going to over speculate what it is. I'm just happy because, listen, it's just like Sony, what you just did, like keep doing that and more, right? Like do a showcase next in like 3 or 4 months and show us your first party. It is Killian. Okay, shit. Well, now I know. So maybe it does have something to do with Jim Ryan leaving. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe this. I mean, let's keep in mind Jim Ryan's still technically the CEO. So this could have been him and him saying like, "Hey, I want to," but then again, he wasn't there to present it all. So we're gonna find out. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. I don't think Herman Hulst is going to be the CEO of PlayStation. I just don't see that happening. If Herman Hulst does get announced as the CEO of PlayStation, then we will know, okay, he was hugely responsible for putting on this show. And that would be a good thing. Herman's been cooking. We were sitting here this whole time thinking he's just on vacation, posting himself on his boats and stuff, having a good old time. But in reality, he's thinking about, how do I make the next State of Play a great one? How can I get Kojima part of the next State of Play? We got O. Christopher, a member for 7 months, saying, "Heathens, repent. Lord Jim Ryan lives forever. Rise, my fellow Rhintologist. We're converting, bro. We have to convert. Jim Ryan's going to be at home drinking wine, relaxing, doing God knows what. Meanwhile, there's going to be a whole group of people being like, praise Jim Ryan." Yeah, that's true. You're saying let's also shout out Sean. Yes, Sean Benson, I think her name is. She was a big part of that show too. Yeah, she's like the head of third party striking on these deals. True. Ye of little faith, witness yesterday's State of Play and tremble. Oh my God, you guys are wild. Anyway, getting back to this handheld, I want to ask you guys, how much do you think this handheld will cost? Again, it's an AMD powered custom dedicated PlayStation handheld that plays PS4 games, PS5 games, and we assume it'll stream PlayStation 6 games. $600 or $700. What? No way. That's absurd. 400 base model 400. I could see it being 400. If Sony could actually get PlayStation 6 games to play on it, excuse me, but like lower resolutions and frame rates, oh my God, that can't be possible, right? There's no way that could be possible. Something about that just doesn't sound right. It'll cost more than the console. Yeah, it would have to, or at least as expensive as the console. What do I think about Dragon's Dogma 2 being only 30 FPS on consoles? I think it sucks, truthfully. Like, I'll still play it, but it's a tough one, man. I do expect games to be, at this point, 60 FPS, you know? It does look really good, though, visually. So there's that. I think it is confirmed, isn't it? Or maybe not officially. I think there's like multiple rumors indicating that it is going to be 30 FPS. Here, so listen, before I want to make sure I go on a little bit longer about this topic. I don't want to move on from it too quickly because there's something else I want to ask you guys about this dedicated Sony handheld. This is going to be very different because we're not going to see a Sony handheld where it's like we're going to make games just for this handheld console. It's going to be shared with the entire PlayStation ecosystem. And so the question I have at that point is how much of an impact would this have on the overall handheld market? Like, would Sony find success here? Is what I'm trying to ask. Or is this going to be maybe something that they try and it's like, I don't think this is going to work out for you guys. That's the best way to go. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this could be one of the smartest things Sony ever does. I really think so. I think them saying, "Look, we need to make some handheld hardware. We need to integrate it with our ecosystem with the PlayStation Store. We need to. I mean, look, if Sony is serious about wanting to get more people involved in the PlayStation ecosystem, this is a great way to do that. With a shared handheld, they may as well make a PlayStation Switch type console. See, I've speculated even further that like I think that's what the PlayStation 7 will be. I don't think the PlayStation 6 will be able to be a like hybrid console because it's going to still need to have that dedicated cutting edge hardware inside of it. But I think by the time we get to the PlayStation 7, we're going to be at a point with consoles, like home consoles, where it's like, okay, what like how much better are the graphics really going to get? How much higher is the ceiling here for the GPU, the CPU, the RAM? You know what I mean? Like, how much can we, like, are we even going to be able to call it a next gen console when we get to the PlayStation 7? I think you will, but I think the reason why you're going to call it that is because Sony's going to make a full blown uh, hybrid because the technology will be advanced enough to where it's like, yeah, of course we can. Where basically, I guess what I'm describing is I could see a PlayStation 7 where the reason why it'll be a hybrid is simply because it'll play the game the same exact way, or pretty much the same way. Where it's like if you play it in handheld mode, right? The resolution, the frame rate, it's pretty much the same, or just very, very slightly lowered to where it's almost not even noticeable as to when you have it hooked up to your TV. But I don't know. There are many. I guess there are just many different. I'm looking too far ahead, but this was just really surprising to me to come across this information and this rumor because I was like, of course Sony's going to do this. Like I've been speculating that Sony should do something like this. It makes a ton of sense. Yeah, there you go. And if they dock it, Sony's in-house upscaling technology will kick it up to 4K. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking, man. Because they are working on that. Well, I can tell you this. If this is real, which I do think it is, and Sony announces this in the next year or two or something, I think people are going to lose their fucking minds. I do. I think this is one of the I think this is one of those if Sony actually sees this thing to market, this is going to be like a bomb drop announcement from Sony that I think people would get extremely hyped about because it'll be the first time Sony has returned to the actual dedicated handheld market since the Vita. And again, the Portal is nice, but the Portal's not a dedicated handheld. And I think now more than ever when we go over, like going over this rumor that this is what Sony's working on internally, I think this pretty much proves that the Portal is an actual just proof of concept. We got the PS5 and we got the portable PS5. Granted, it's limited by remote play. What's the next evolution of that? a beefier, more expensive, more premium handheld that can play games natively, but can also stream games through the cloud. So this is a good idea, I think. I hope this is true because I think it's smart. You don't count the Portal as a handheld. That's fair. It's well, I don't look at it as a dedicated handheld. I look at it as just this. It exists in this weird space. You know, it's like Sony's Wii U, and then the next handheld's basically gonna be their Switch, so to speak. Portal is really just a controller with a screen. It is. It is. Yeah. Hopefully, Sony doesn't release their next handheld with proprietary memory cards. Is that what killed the Vita? I don't think so. I don't think that's what killed it, but definitely didn't help it. All right. Let me get this cat hair out of the way. All right. I do have other topics to go over with you guys, believe it or not. So it just occurred to me that at the beginning of the stream, I was telling you guys how I platinumed The Last of Us Part 2. And I meant to just say my final piece on the game. So let me do that now. It just feels like I have to because I just put like 55 hours or so into The Last of Us Part 2 and I got the platinum. And so my first playthrough was to just replay the game and the story regularly. And my second playthrough was to get all of the collectibles. So Naughty Dog, please, if anybody at Naughty Dog, which I'm sure nobody at Naughty Dog is listening to my stream, please reconsider how you do collectibles because there is no reason for there to be 286 collectibles. Or at the very least, listen, I don't mind a large amount of collectibles, but Naughty Dog, can you do what Sucker Punch did with Ghost of Tsushima? Where it's like you don't have to get every collectible. Just get like a third of them. 286 total collectibles. All of them combined. Like, oh my god, dude. It really was just it was a marathon, let me tell you. And yeah, so here are my final thoughts on The Last of Us Part 2. And I don't think I'll be talking about it for a very long time after this. And I will be keeping it very short. But I just feel like I have to say, because I just spent almost another 60 hours playing it. This is it. Ready? My feelings on the story overall didn't change. I still like The Last of Us 1 a lot better. I will say, I have a slightly better appreciation for Ellie's story this time around after replaying it. Just because I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like I got to maybe better understand the ending a little bit, you know, and just, okay, I get it. You're moving on, leaving everything behind. Okay, sure. Overall, I feel like Naughty Dog, they're just overall when it comes to The Last of Us Part 2, I cannot escape the quality level of this game. Even though I finished it again, I'm like, yeah, that story isn't doing it for me. The quality is it really, there are not many games, if any, like The Last of Us or The Last of Us Part 2, where it's just they know what they're doing. They do. They really know what they're doing. I guess what I'm trying to say is I left The Last of Us Part 2 remastered after platinum it, realizing like Naughty Dog really is one of the best studios in the world. You're saying you played 55 hours, know you hate it. Dude, believe me, I don't think you understand how desperate I was to be done with those collectibles, bro. Oh my god. Have you guys ever gotten like that trophy hunting where you're like, I gotta, like, you're almost being tortured where you're like, you get the platinum and you're like, I'm free. Freedom. I release me. That's like, dude, it was a marathon, bro. Let me tell you. But I just gotta say that, like, the quality of The Last of Us Part 2 really is staggering from top to bottom. I'm not fully on board with the story and the writing and the direction they went in, but every single thing here, it's just Naughty Dog is a very, very, very talented studio that I don't think I think they're exactly where they're supposed to be right now after a game like The Last of Us Part 2, where they're loved and they're hated. And that makes sense. Replaying this game again, it makes me realize that this is how it was always going to go. And I'm curious to see that Grounded documentary, by the way, which is releasing tomorrow. I'm going to watch that. Very interested in seeing more behind the scenes. The conversation, I will say, I am now ready. Finally. I mean, I say this, I'm going to watch the fucking Grounded documentary. I'm going to come back a couple days later and be like, we got to talk about The Last of Us 2 again. I am ready to lay the conversation about The Last of Us Part 2 to rest. Like, officially, finally. Like, I've experienced this game twice in two different contexts. One at the launch when shit was hitting the fan. Once again when everything's already it's all water under the bridge and it's just my choice if I want to play it and get the platinum and finish it up, you know? And I did that. And yeah, man, I still feel the exact same way I did ultimately, which is I want to see Naughty Dog rise up, man. I do. I know that sounds silly to some people because a lot of people feel like, dude, they're already at the top. And it's like, look, man, I'm not talking about awards for the studio. I'm not talking about, you know, how mature their game is. Like, I'm talking about, I want to see, I don't know if they'll ever get it back to being purely universal, but I would just like to get to a point again where Naughty Dog can maintain this insane fucking quality. That's like, holy shit, you guys are, I don't know what you're doing over there, but Jesus. I want to see them maintain that just insanely high level quality bar, but with much more universal love behind it. Because I just feel like I almost feel bad that it's like, God damn, dude. Like, I'm looking at some of these death animations, man. Like, dude, I forgot how gory The Last of Us Part 2 gameplay is. Like, when you shoot somebody with a fucking rifle and their arm blows off and they're sitting there, they're like, like they're fucking screaming, and you're like, oh my God, like, this is so fucking real, right? This is like intense. I'm like, how long did your animators work on this? Like, how many different people did you have to bring in to, you know, to perfectly voice act like agonizing, like an agonizing, painful death? The headshots are fucking brutal. Like, just the amount of times you pull out a shotgun and you like just blow somebody's head off and you're like, oh man, whoa. You know, like, this is pretty visceral. Is it too real? It's pretty realistic, man. I gotta say, in terms of the combat, and I can't get over how fucking high quality is. You know what it really makes me think of? And I know that people are going to interpret this as like a fanboy thing. It's not a fanboy thing, but it really does make me think of this as I'm playing it. Where it's like Xbox did an internal review of The Last of Us Part 2, and they came back and they're like, we have nothing even remotely close to this. This is insane. Like, that's basically what they said. They're like, we don't know how they're doing this. We don't have anything like it. And it's like, that to me reveals, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up Naughty Dog's ass because God knows they don't need that. But it really does reveal that, like, yeah, they're on a fucking another level quality wise. Like they just have something going on over there that like almost no other development team really has. And I want to see it channeled in a better way. That's all. Can I react to a YouTube Colin that talks about the gameplay? Devil Street, you have to tell me what tell me exactly what you're referencing. I'll let you know if I can bring it up or not, or if I'm interested in it. How is the quality defined? I mean, it's a good question. I guess it's just like, for me, it comes in the sheer level of detail and care. Where, like, don't get me wrong, there are some like one of the only downsides in terms of like the quality itself that I feel like needs to be a little bit. I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask. Where for me, the only thing that actually annoyed me gameplay wise, where there were a few too many segments in the game where it's like, okay, now you're like walking on rails and you have to. I guess it's like when you're in encampments and stuff, and I get it. It's for story purposes, like to get you, like for world building and to, interact with different characters and stuff. But I feel like maybe that needs to be tightened up just a little bit. Holy shit, I forgot how long this game is. The YouTuber's name is Colin. He talked about the gameplay. One of the only ones that did. All right, Devil Shooter. I'll think about it. Maybe I'll save that for the members lounge and we can react to it because the gameplay is phenomenal. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I've went on long enough over the years about The Last of Us Part 2. At this point in time, I've laid it to rest. I've seen everything there is to see with this game. I feel good about the platinum because it's always nice to get a platinum trophy. I'm also happy to be done with it. I want to see what they do next. I'm willing and I'm waiting and I hope they bring it. I do. I hope Naughty Dog brings their A game, their S tier game, and I hope it's something that isn't as divisive or upsetting. Poor Joel. What did they do to my Joel? What'd they do to my Joel? No, just kidding. Am I though? Am I kidding? Yo, I had a dream. Oh shit, his guitar moves? Yo, I didn't even know that. Anyway. Sorry, Boston. I'm sorry, did I scare the shit out of you? I just scared the fucking shit out of Boston. Didn't even know. He's like, bro, what are you doing over there? Boss is trying to sleep. Yeah, how's it feel, boss? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, boss. Sorry, buddy. Here you go. He's like, what is this? MBG, your cat is so cute. Boss is awesome. He's my coworker. Isn't that right? All right. I was saying I had a dream, by the way. I guess because I've been playing so much Last of Us. I had a dream that Naughty Dog's next announcement was it's a game with Joel and Tommy, and they're it's like a prequel. And then I woke up and I was like, oh well, of course that's not real. That'll never be real. John Harker claims Sony will have a big show in May. Who's that? I never heard of that name before. I can put this down now. John Harker? Is he like an insider or something? How old is Boss? I think Boss is 6 years old. He's a reset era leaker. Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for Sony to do another show in May, like an E3 level show. I mean, they did one in May last year, so sure. I mean, that's good news. If he's a reliable leaker, then great. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, for as good as that state of play was, Sony still has to do a proper showcase for their first party. No doubt about that. All right. So I wanted to just go over this real quick. This is I just think this is worth following to see where it leads. We talked about this a little bit last week, but we have an update here from VGC. Several European retailers are reportedly no longer stocking physical Xbox games. That's according to GamesIndustry.biz's Christopher Dring, who said on the Games Industry microcast that he had heard that sales of physical games for the console are so low that retailers have decided to stop stocking the products. I got told by a major publisher just before Christmas that across Europe, several retailers have started not listing Xbox anymore, said Dring. So they've just started not stocking Xbox games anymore. Xbox is such a digital console, the physical performance of games is really low, and ultimately, when you're selling a console that most people are just downloading games for, it doesn't really benefit the retailer very much. The margin of hardware is often quite small. I wasn't able to corroborate that. I couldn't find which retailer this is, but it was a proper senior European publishing boss who said it to me. So this comes after claims that Microsoft has shuttered the internal departments dedicated to bringing physical games to market. Legal documents leaked in September potentially laid bare key elements of Microsoft's gaming strategy for years to come, including plans to launch an adorably all digital Xbox Series X console codenamed Brooklyn. So I just wanted to give you guys this follow up because it's like, yeah, it's getting worse with the whole Xbox and physical games thing. That's crazy. It's happening fast, man. I mean, imagine like selling so few games in a market physically that it's like, yeah, we're not even going to stock your game. Very sad. But just a little update for you there. I'm going to read this article to you from Push Square just because, I don't know, I just want another excuse to talk about it. Considering that Kojima Productions is nowhere near the biggest developer in the world, it seems absurdly busy at the moment. The Japanese team has Death Stranding 2 on the beach slated for 2025. It's collaborating with Xbox on OD. And now there's a new IP in the works funded by Sony. That is a lot of work for a relatively small studio. And given the fact that this new title will only properly enter production once Death Stranding 2 is complete, it begs the question: has the first PlayStation 6 game just been announced right under our noses? Let's look at some projected timelines. A console generation usually lasts anywhere from 6 to 8 years, and after the PS5's launch in 2020, the PS6 has probably been penciled in for release somewhere around 2027 or 2028. If Physint, as it's being referred to, is only now entering production in earnest at Kojima Productions after Death Stranding 2 is complete, then the team is going to need at least another few years before it's ready to put that out as well. The release of OD also has to fit in there somewhere, which will take up resources, though it seems that may be a slightly smaller release than Death Stranding. If this all lines up and Kojima Productions encounters a few development issues, then a launch in 2027 or 2028 may be realistic. At that point, we could be looking at a cross-gen title for the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 6. Hideo Kojima himself has even described the action espionage video game meets movie as something for the next generation, he continues. It will be created using cutting edge technology and the best talents from around the world, from film and video games. Of course, this is an interactive game, but the look, story, theme, cast, acting, fashion, sound, etc. are all the next level of digital entertainment, and it could also be called a movie. So yeah, I just thought that this was a good write up from Push Square that I wanted to read with you guys because yeah, it really does kind of seem like I know we talked about it earlier, but I think this project is going to be one of the first like cross gen games probably announced. You know, although it was already kind of announced, but you know what I mean, like properly. Like I could see this honestly being like one of the first PlayStation 6 games actually revealed. Like when years from now, when Kojima's like, "All right, I'm ready to reveal gameplay of this," it's like captured on PlayStation 6 or something. You know, so I just wanted to read that. I meant to read that earlier, but I want to talk to you guys. Check this out. I came across this from the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. It's a rumor. It says summary. The Quarry was Until Dawn 2 at some point. Sony paid for the prototype and Supermassive took in the dev project paid by Sony and then ran away to Google. Another one says it was because of Dark Pictures being multi-platform, but it seems to be a mixture of both uh, as to why Sony and Supermassive do not collaborate anymore. As seen with Until Dawn, a Sony-owned IP, the remaster is being made by Ballistic Moon. We came upon this information back in 2022 during an investigation into Supermassive's work culture prior to its acquisition by Nordisk Games in July of that year. At the time, we spoke to 6 employees, all of whom alleged that the first few entries of the Dark Pictures anthology had been subject to mismanagement and lack of resources and time, and that the studio itself didn't offer much in the way of growth, with junior designers being lumped with non design tasks like inputting animation data. One employee, for instance, told us the Quarry team was originally Until Dawn working with Sony, and Sony basically paid for them to be making this for them as a prototype. Then, once the prototype was done, Supermassive turned around and said, "We're going to shop this around and see if anyone else wants it," which was kind of the final nail in the coffin of any relationship with Sony. They ended up getting picked up by Google, who funded it for years. Another employee seemed to confirm that the Quarry was, at one point, Until Dawn 2, but offered a slightly different take on these events, suggesting it was Sony who broke things off over the Dark Pictures multi-platform approach. The Quarry started as a pitch for Until Dawn, but they didn't have the license. They burnt their bridges with Sony by releasing Dark Pictures on multiple platforms. As far as I'm aware, someone else has that license now. So, look, this is interesting to me. Like, it's interesting to be hearing about this because I was telling you guys, like, I'm very confused as to why, like, you know, why are we getting an Until Dawn remaster? Well, we kind of know they're making a movie. They want to do more with it. But I was like, damn, Ballistic Moon. This is what Ballistic Moon has been working on. What's going on with Ballistic Moon? I think it's getting this information after knowing about Ballistic Moon as a studio. It's pretty obvious what's going on here. So essentially, Supermassive ended up creating what was basically a hit game that they didn't expect to be a hit game. It was a surprise hit for the PS4 with Until Dawn. It sold like over 4.5 million copies, which for a game like Until Dawn is very good. Like that game was probably projected to sell at most like 1.5 million or 1.8 or something. So it did really, really well. And we know how Sony is. Sony saw that success and they were like, yo, this is a new franchise. You know, that this has a immense potential. But it seems like Supermassive was just kind of like, yeah, we'll do that, but we're also going to do a bunch of other shit. And Sony's like, I don't think so. And so here's what's interesting about Ballistic Moon. Ballistic Moon is a new development team formed by previous Supermassive lead development talent, aka the people who actually made Until Dawn. Now, when we see this game re-revealed and they're saying, oh, we're doing a Until Dawn movie. By the way, we're remastering the game. It should be obvious what's happening here. Until Dawn is now going to be like a major franchise underneath PlayStation. And Ballistic Moon is going to be the studio that continues this franchise. I guarantee you they are going to work on Until Dawn 2. They're going to make an Until Dawn sequel. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ballistic Moon, if they do make Until Dawn 2 and it's, you know, it's actually like good and successful and it's clear that like this was a smart move, I could even see Sony acquiring that studio. Are Ballistic Moon X Supermassive then? Yes. For all intents and purposes, Ballistic Moon is basically the Supermassive Games that made Until Dawn. Apparently, I don't know. Supermassive Games now, I don't know if they're having like dev problems or not, but The Quarry, I don't think did too well. I just think they're crazy. Like, I don't know. Supermassive, that's kind of stupid of them. I gotta be real. I think it's kind of stupid of Supermassive to you could have the security of being like having a strong partnership with Sony, making Until Dawn 2 and like the first game sold over 4 million copies. Like this is like, it's just a no brainer. And I don't blame them for wanting to like, I don't blame them for being like, well, we should continue to be multi-plat and not align with anybody. But it's like, I don't know, man, your biggest success was with a PlayStation exclusive. Like, why not just stick with that? If it doesn't work the second time, then it doesn't work. But it's like, I don't know. Like, where are they today? Like, how relevant and significant is Supermassive today? I think The Quarry released last year. I think it's Ego, maybe. Yeah, it could have been. It could have been that. But Sony, I think, is playing it smart here. Sony retains the rights to Until Dawn. The co-founders left. Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't even know that. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. It seems like Ballistic Moon might just be the new Supermassive. So, with that being said, I want to go over some of the information just for those who are curious. There was a write-up here. Return to Blackwood Mountain with a new third-person mode, plus improved visuals, audio, and more. This is Neil McEwen, creative director of Ballistic Moon. Until Dawn has remained a core genre-defining horror experience for players since it released almost a decade ago. We are now taking these amazing foundations and adding more emotional depth, an enhanced look, and a completely new soundscape that a game with such a strong legacy deserves. Rebuilt in Unreal Engine 5, Until Dawn has seen enhancements across the board, all made with passion and care for the original from the team of horror lovers, film fanatics, and veteran game makers at Ballistic Moon. And it's coming to PS5 and PC this year. Oh, I missed that it was actually coming out this year. Until Dawn has been rebuilt with the latest tools and techniques, new and improved animations, build on the success of the original character performances. Characters, environments, and VFX have been upgraded, all for a truly enhanced cinematic horror experience. We use a broader cinematic tonal color palette and new perspectives to make the story more nuanced and emotional. We've been brave enough to shine a light into the dark, unseen corners of Blackwood Mountain and added a third-person camera, which means you can now look behind the curtain of the original game, exploring enhanced new locations with new interactions and collectibles. Incorporating a third-person camera and adding contextual character movement animations, the game now allows the player to really feel the experience of that fateful night. See, that's pretty interesting to me, like the whole... Because if I'm not mistaken, didn't Until Dawn... I've only seen some footage of it. It had like fixed camera angles, right? So it almost seems like they're gonna give you like a free look, I guess, almost like a 360-degree camera, which is interesting to me. If that's really like, yeah, I don't know. You're saying it's a remake, MBG? I thought it's a remaster. I mean, it sounds more like a remaster than a remake. It switches at times. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I never played the original, so it's possible for me to know. It says Until Dawn, Until Dawn sound has undergone a massive overhaul too, featuring a new score from legendary horror composer Mark Corvin. We've endeavored to keep the fantastic narrative integrity of the original, but we have seized the opportunity to expand upon unexplored emotional parts of the story. Look out for more news on this enhanced version coming later this year. Also, stay tuned for the newly announced film adaptation of Until Dawn from PlayStation Productions. So, yeah, this is really I don't. I feel like something is weird here with Ballistic Moon. Like they're just like I just think it's funny that they're just like, yeah, we're Ballistic Moon, we're here, we're working with PlayStation. Like there's just like who's the, like, no one knows who the studio is. Like we know who Ballistic Moon is because we've researched it, we've covered it, but like there was never like any announcement or anything, or they've never really. I don't know. Well, yeah, they could. That's my question. Is this the only game they're working on? Are they working on an Until Dawn 2? If they're not, I think they definitely will be. I bet you. I bet you that's exactly what's going to happen. Sony's like, yo, Until Dawn 1, 2, 3, 4, Until Dawn 2 remake, PlayStation 6. It's going to happen. Meanwhile, no Bloodborne. Still no Bloodborne. All right, check this out. I got another article here from WCCF Tech. Dreams, the unique game creation system title developed by Media Molecule, was very close to hitting PlayStation 5 and PC, but was canceled at the last minute when the ports were basically finished. Oh, that's painful. Speaking during a recent live stream, Lance McDonald, a well-known hacker and data miner, revealed that the enhanced port, which featured ray tracing support as well as mouse and keyboard controls on PS5, had been in the works for a while, but was ultimately canceled following layoffs at the development studio. The hacker got his information from someone he knew who was playtesting it, who said the port was essentially done by the time it got canceled. Dreams not releasing on PC has got to be one of the biggest missed opportunities of Sony Interactive Entertainment. The game creation system featured in the title is extremely well done, and it would have worked great on a PC with modding support. Now it seems like the game will be forever stuck on PS4, never realizing its true potential. Damn. Like, really got to question Sony on this one, man. Like, my biggest question is why did they cancel it if it was pretty much finished? There has to be something missing here. There has to be, because it doesn't make any sense. It would have just been free money for them to release a PC and PS5 version. Something had to have went wrong. Saying no one was going to buy it. Yeah, but I mean, but that's the thing. Is like if it was already done. That to me is the part that's very strange. I would like to get more info on that. But that sucks, man. Like I'm pretty sad about that because I mean, Dreams really, again, I'm not somebody who really played it, but you're saying MBG people don't realize Dreams used Unity? Oh, okay. Should have been free to play. I agree with that. Yeah, it just makes me sad to see that this is the fate of Dreams because I mean, I know most people didn't care about it, but one thing I always appreciated when I would come across certain things I've seen in Dreams is like the community that did play it really were passionate about it, and they still are. Like there are some insane creations in Dreams, and it's actually quite shocking what people could achieve and create and come up with. And I just think it's sad that like we're hearing this where it's like, yeah, all they had to do was just hit the release button basically to release it on PS5 and PC, and they were like, nah. So, yeah, sad. Sad to see stuff like this happen, but I don't know. What are you going to do? At this point, I'm worried about Media Molecule. I'm like worried about their future, truthfully. Tom Henderson over on Twitter says, I've not heard of this yet in regards to the PlayStation handheld console development. He says, but my 2 cents here is that given the increasing popularity of the handheld market as of late, this is probably one of the best educated guesses that you can make in terms of PlayStation tech. He says he thinks Xbox is doing it too. Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty safe bet. All right. Now I'm just sweeping. HiFi Rush Anniversary Update has PS5/Switch exclusive t-shirt textures. What? Why am I reading that sentence? Why am I reading a sentence that has the words Hi-Fi Rush PS5 Switch exclusive? And like, why is that a sentence that exists? I just came across this on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. It says here, for context, the 1-year anniversary update gave new t-shirts for, is his name Kai? I think that's how you say his name. Including an exclusive shirt dependent on what platform you're playing the game on, Xbox, Steam, Epic Games. And in the files are textures that hint at exclusive shirts for Kai if you were to play it on PS5 or Switch. Damn, bro. Saying Totillo also said that a lot of other Microsoft games are coming to other platforms. I mean, it's not a surprise at this point, honestly. I know that when this happens, like people, like we'll talk about it when it happens, obviously. But I just can't really act like this is even a little bit surprising anymore, man. Like the writing is, it's not even on the wall at this point. It's just this is what it is. God, I keep inhaling Boss. Is that my mustache or Boss's hair? Oh, sorry. This is just the way it is at this point, man. Like Microsoft is out here reporting their numbers, and their numbers are now looking insanely good because of Activision Blizzard. Meanwhile, the one number that still looks really bad is their console sales. And it's just, yeah, I mean, I think my allergies are starting to kick in, man. I'm allergic to talking about Xbox at this point. You're saying that will be a fun Mod Snipers Day. Yeah, it is. I know, like, again, you're going to see people with all different reactions where, let's keep in mind, man, like if Hi-Fi Rush is like announced for PlayStation and Switch later this year, it's like it won't be surprising. It's like it's rumored at this point. It's been rumored for a little while now. But I think like this has to confirm it though, right? Like there's literal files in the update for a Switch and PlayStation exclusive shirt. What a strange time. Resident Evil 4 Gold Edition has officially been announced. So, according to Special Nick, he's teasing that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct next week. I bet you that's where it's announced. If I had to guess. If these games are going to hit Switch, I think it's more likely that it kind of benefits Microsoft, I think, to announce this at a Nintendo event, not a PlayStation event. I don't think it would make much sense for them to announce it at their own event either. Like that's why an announcement like Hi-Fi Rush coming like PlayStation or Switch, I don't think that would make sense at an actual Xbox event. It's just too much conflict. I think Nintendo's the best bet, the safest bet. I think I'm dehydrated. How will it get announced? I think it'll just be a trailer for the Switch. And then after that, there'll be like a press release that'll say like available on Switch and PlayStation. I will admit, I am looking forward to the internet's reaction in general because, well, it's more so not what the internet has to say as much as what the internet has to say, how it may impact Microsoft's response. Because it's going to be a little messy. I mean, there's no doubt about it, man. Like people, even if it's just a few vocal people, it's going to get messy. And the question is how Microsoft we know how Microsoft is with this stuff, right? Like Microsoft is very intentional with their wording and how they say things. And I have no doubt that when this is announced, there's going to be a blog post and they're going to be very specific about the way they communicate this to everybody. And I'll be honest, like it doesn't matter to me at this point. Like I don't hang on to anything Xbox says. I just assume maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. We'll find out, But either way, Xbox console sales are tanked, bro. And Microsoft's a massive publisher now. They want to make money. They want to make sales. You can't blame them. I mean, they'll still support Game Pass, just like Sony will still support PlayStation Plus. It's still a big tentpole thing for them. But you can't, I guess I'm just saying, like, you really can't blame Microsoft for being like, maybe we should just kind of be a publisher a little bit more. Like, they already do publish on PlayStation and Switch, but to like lean more into that, it just makes sense. Make money. Like, you spent an ungodly amount of money to get to this position. Now, find a way to make money. Go for it. I think it'll be a big deal for like 3 days, maybe 2 days at most. And after that, it's just like, okay. Like everybody's just going to move on, buy it if you want. What my real question is? Here's the real question. Because this is where things might actually get a little bit awkward. Is Microsoft going to do a physical release for PS5 and Switch versions? Surely for the Switch, they will. That's very awkward. Like, to me, that's very awkward because it's like, if they do that, I mean, they're in the process of essentially communicating, like, we're starting to go digital only. And so it's like, that would be really weird. Yeah, Sea of Thieves is rumored. I'm really you know what I'm most curious about? Not because I want to play it, because I'm just not interested, but just because, oh man, listen, Halo Infinite is a live service title, and I really wonder if Microsoft at some point is gonna be like, we should try to get this on PlayStation. Because I'll tell you what, I think a lot of PlayStation players would play Halo Infinite. Believe it or not, I do. Like, I think if Halo Infinite came to PlayStation, there'd actually be a lot of people that'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll play it. Isn't it free to play? Or Master Chief Collection. They could do that. Isn't the Master Chief Collection monetized now? I mean, I have to imagine Microsoft is at least thinking about this stuff. Because it's like, from Microsoft's position, it's just money on the table. It is. It's just money on the table for them. And if they're willing to do it for games like Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, I mean, Sea of Thieves is a live service. So the Master Chief Collection, really? The Master Chief Collection has a battle pass now? That's smart, dude. Holy shit. Microsoft, I didn't know they did all that. That's really smart. I bet you it's still really popular too. Yeah, I think it'll happen. It just makes too much sense. You're saying the day that happens, the brand dies. I don't think it's not the brand that dies, man. It's like, if the day ever did come where Halo actually released on PlayStation, it's like, well, all right. This isn't like, the console is dead. Like, it is at that point. I don't think there's any there's no going back from that. But then again, people would say, well, it's already dead. So it's like, well, it's officially a new era for Xbox. It seems like it, yeah. That's why this year has gotten off to such an interesting and fascinating start. I mean, we're getting like these rumors about Microsoft publishing some of their back catalog to competing consoles, and they have their developer direct. People really like it. People feeling good about the Xbox brand. They have Activision now, and then there's like massive layoffs, and there's a lot of controversy around that. And then on the other side of it, Sony is They re-released The Last of Us Part 2, and people are like, well, this is weird. And then they're like, okay, here's a state of play. Here's the first PlayStation 6 game from Kojima. Check out this Death Stranding 2 guitar battle with Troy Baker. And here's this Kojima state of play, this Kojima showcase. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just a lot of stuff. Dude, I mean, I had a feeling 2024 was going to be a pretty intense year for gaming in general, but certainly for PlayStation, probably Xbox as well. And we're just 1 month into the year, and so much has already happened. It's a lot. Not all of it's bad either. Yeah, dude, I keep forgetting that. I like literally keep forgetting that there's a state of play happening in 5 days. Oh, that, you know what? That's probably where they're going to drop the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo. Hell yeah, that's amazing, dude. I wish Sony would do a state of play like every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, I got a new state of play to stream. That's just the selfish part of me as a streamer, though, because it's fun streaming those state of plays, man. Yeah, I think I was completely off the mark thinking that Bluebird Team was almost done with Silent Hill 2. Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush are nowhere in the same category as Halo when it comes to Xbox core identity. They'd kill their own brand identity. I don't think, yeah, but I don't think Microsoft cares, dude. Like, you're right that it's different when it comes to the core identity, but here's how I view it. I think Microsoft sees it as the Xbox identity is it's just not defined by the box in Xbox, which is, I've always said this and I'll always say it. Like, it is so weird that Microsoft is going to be the first one to seemingly slowly, or maybe at this point more briskly, walk away from console, considering their brand name literally has the word box in the title, Xbox. You know, it's just so awkward to me. But I don't think that they care anymore. I think that's like, to me, that's pretty obvious. They don't care anymore about the console, and because of that, like, that's not their identity. So what I'm trying to say is, to Microsoft, if Halo released on PlayStation in the future, like if they're like, hey, Halo Infinite's coming to PlayStation, go play it, give us your money. If they were to do that, I don't think Microsoft is looking at it as, but what if we're losing part of our identity? That's just, I don't think they see it that. They're just like, no, this is still an Xbox game. This is a Microsoft game. It's just on another platform. You know, like, the money comes to us. Sure, our competition gets a cut of that money, but we get the lion's share. I just don't think Microsoft looks at it that way, man. I think it's easy for like the players and people on the outside to look at it that way, because it's like, well, we're not in business meetings trying to maximize profits for these companies, you know? So we just, I think, have a different perspective on it, where, yeah, to the, I think to the fan or just to the outside person looking in, it's like, whoa, holy shit, like, that's your identity. Why are you putting that on the competition? It's like, because they're not competition anymore, you know? So I guess it's kind of like, if the notion of losing your identity is tethered to how you compete with with Sony as your competitor, well, then what does it mean? What does your identity mean if Sony's no longer a competitor? I mean, at that point, it's practically becoming philosophical. So, not going to go down that road. Given Silent Hill 2 didn't get a release date, when do you think we can expect Metal Gear Delta? I'm beginning to think that Metal Gear Delta will come sooner. I am really thinking that, just because, like, I don't know, Bluebird Team, I think they bit off more than they could chew. And I think when it comes to Konami with MGS3, they made it pretty clear, like, we're just literally making the graphics better and touching up some animations. That's it. So I think Metal Gear Delta may actually come out before it. It could anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if Metal Gear Delta is further along in development. Did I see the Microsoft Xbox investor call? I did not. I mean, I saw some of the numbers coming out, but that's about it. But I didn't really pay too much attention to those numbers because people were, I mean, it was pretty clear, like, this is just a one-time massive boost from the acquisition closing. So it'll like never be this high again. And it makes sense, you know. Can we be optimistic with Metal Gear Solid after that Silent Hill trailer? To me, it's easier to be optimistic because of the fact that Konami made it clear, like, we're not really doing anything to it. It seems pretty clear with the remake. I almost fear that Silent Hill 2 could be a victim of, you know, like the Resident Evil remake effect, right? Where it's like, maybe the biggest mistake they made was looking at Resident Evil remake and being like, we got to do that for Silent Hill. It's like, well, that's a great ambition to have, but are you really going to be the one to do that? You know, to where you almost start to think maybe I don't know, maybe again, I'll be honest, a game like Silent Hill 2 doesn't need to follow any template. It just doesn't. Like the devs probably should just focus on just let the game like understand what it is that people loved about Silent Hill 2 or just Silent Hill in general, and just focus on that and let that shine through. And I think that's why people were kind of like, why the hell is this called, like, why are we getting a combat trailer? Because yes, there's combat in Silent Hill and in Silent Hill 2, but like that's not really like that's not really why you play the game. Like that shouldn't be a main focal point of the game. We should see it, of course. Like they shouldn't hide it, but I don't know. I think the trailer dropped the ball in the fact that it just, I don't know, man. It just it almost tried to convey that the game is like an action oriented game, and it's like it's definitely not. Or at least it shouldn't be. There should be some action, some combat, of course, but I don't know, man. Like, just seeing a bunch of close-up shots of James with a fucking shotgun, like, blowing these things away, I'm like, I feel like we're one step away from seeing him on a skateboard in this trailer. Anybody else get that feeling? We're like one step away from seeing James on a skateboard in this trailer, bro. Between the music, like the intensity of the music and just the amount of combat they're showing. But guys, I think I'm gonna call it here for the stream today because we are about to hit the 3-hour mark, and I don't want to go too long here because I do want to do a members lounge, and I pretty much covered all. We had a couple of bonus topics here at the end. Things like they missed the point. Yeah, I feel like that's why I was so confused because the first trailer was really good. The first trailer, I think, did a really good job in conveying like what this game is all about. And then when maybe they just felt nervous. Maybe they were afraid that like, what if people aren't like feel like the gameplay's too boring? And it's like, well, I understand that, but I don't know. You liked it? Yeah, again, rewatching it in 4K at 60 FPS, it still looked pretty decent, pretty good. Like I'm looking forward to playing it. I am. Like I know I'm being really hard on it, and I'm making it sound like, oh my god, like it looked like shit. I don't think it looked like shit. I just think it was definitely not the best presentation. But rewatching it, I'm like, yeah, it looks like it's still going to be enjoyable to play. It's still Silent Hill 2, you know. So we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing with it, but. No, I haven't played the Silent Hill Stealth Drop yet. Maybe I'll give it a shot for a little bit in the members lounge. I think I did fix my capture card. So, all right, guys, if you are a channel member, in the next 5 minutes or so, the members lounge is going to go up. So I hope you'll join me over there, have some interesting conversations potentially, maybe do a little bit of gaming. We'll see. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in once again. Yesterday was a crazy day. I wasn't sure if I was going to stream again today, but I thought, there's enough to talk about. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found at least some of the stuff we talked about informative. And yeah, so shout out to the community. Thank you to everybody who gifted memberships or became a member, and thank you to everybody who dropped some super chats. I'm going to get that members lounge up. I also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps. So if you see him in the comments with the timestamps, give him a thank you. I know he'd really appreciate that. And yeah, so that does it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be streaming tomorrow or not. It really depends. It depends on, I'll say this here at the end too. I've tried over and over again to create like a schedule on my channel in terms of like days, like when I'm going to stream, when I'm not. And it just never seems to work because I've noticed that when I try to create a schedule, there are times where I put up a stream when it's like, I feel like it's not flowing as well, where it's like, I just don't know that the energy's there today or the topics are there. You know what I mean? Versus other days where it's like, oh, I was going to take off today, but oh my God, this thing came out and I definitely want to talk to you guys. It's a tough thing. It's a tough balance to achieve. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you guys is just, I would say at around 11 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, around that time, just check to see if you see a stream up from me. Because if I am going to stream, that's the time I'm usually going to do it, unless there's like a show or something we're reacting to. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And to all of my channel members that are here right now, I hope to see you in the members lounge. If you're not joining me, or to anybody who isn't going to be able to join the members lounge, then I will see you guys in the next proper stream. So that does it. I'm going to go probably get a snack or something, and then I'll see you guys here in a little bit. So until next time, guys, take care.